Right, well, it's time for the main event here in Europe's Deadlock Fight Night number 25, presented by Intel. We just saw Abrahams, as many of us probably expected, pretty comfortably get past their opponents' Murlocs in our Challenger game. And now again, they'll be renewing this, what feels like age-old rivalry against Virtus.pro Jason in a best-of-3 money match.
Yeah, and honestly, when it comes to new patches, when it comes to seeing what the meta is going to be, I think everyone typically looks towards Virtus.pro to be that team to kind of follow suit of how things are expected to play out. But honestly, there hasn't really been much time since the last patch came out, and teams have kind of taken a little bit of a step back, taken a little bit of a break. So I think we're really not going to see too much meta developing strats happen right now. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks for sure when it comes to EU, but still Virtus.pro, I don't care what patch it's going to be on. They're going to be the most adaptable team. And I'll say this every single time. The hero pools they have across the board makes them resistant to swings and change in the game and falling off. Not to mention, with Wraith coming back into the mix, Zergy can finally stop playing Lady Geist and finally go back to what he known to be on.
That's crazy. Of course, not a moment passes without some Zergy slander. I'm here for it. Let's bring Jake back in now. And, you know, as Jason, sorry, ZP, excuse me. We've got ZP coming in.
I was going to say, hold the phone here. What's going on? I'm getting ZP erasure is happening at the moment.
could never erase you, ZP. No. You have an indomitable spirit, my friend. Now, you obviously put together a great video on the Deadlock Fight Night channel, sort of outlining a lot of these changes, especially the itemization in this patch. So make sure everyone check that out if you want to get up to speed on things. But what have you seen so far today? Does it sort of match up with your expectation the first time you saw this patch note? So what is standing out to you or surprising you even?
I think what's standing out to me, and I thought it would be picked, but not as picked as it has been, is just the absolute backstabber supremacy that we've been seeing. It has been the item of the week. I would say also the thing that was kind of interesting to me was the amount of healing novas that were picked up by characters that didn't necessarily pick it up in the past, where you had both a Holiday and a Calico going, yeah, I'm going to go with the early healing nova. So healing nova's value is up. People really like backstabber, and counterspell seems to be a little bit divisive right now. But in the last match, Abrahams decided, hey, we want like half our team to have counterspell going into the latter half of the game. Maybe it was because of the lash, but you know, overall, you can already see some of these item trends really start to develop.
I think the last game was kind of difficult to get like a good indication as well of like what items are going to be kind of like really popular or not, just because it kind of was really one-sided. I think we need to look towards like these 30-40 minute matches where things are a lot closer between teams. I think we can definitely see some things growing from there. But yeah, ZP, like the backstabber, I think was definitely one item I didn't expect to be as highly valued across the board as we saw in that last match.
We didn't mention something, guys. Something really important is that the tiers of items are cheaper now. So tier 1 is 800, tier 2 1600, tier 3 3200. It's just tier 4 that's a bit more expensive. So do you think, really quickly, do you think this is why maybe we're seeing more healing, right? Because now it just takes less souls to get this pretty effective area of effect heal? Because I don't think like healing's been fundamentally changed in the game. It's not a percentage heal, so it doesn't benefit necessarily from the increase in match HP across the board. What do you guys think on that?
You know, I think part of it may also just be the idea that you need a little bit more value per slot now, because you stop and think about the old system, right? You had to pick up 4 of each type. You had to go 4 Vit, 4 Gun, 4 Spirit, and that's where it was, right? Before your flex slots came into play. Whereas now, you know, if you're not necessarily building to be more tanky, every item slot comes at more of a premium, right? So you're going to have less items, you know, less of your 500 or, you know, now 800 items being spammed in, and more of a focus towards value per slot, especially in a game where you think back to what happened with Murlocs. They were struggling to get a flex slot the entire game. So the benefit of getting more value per slot right now is, I think, way higher. And as a result, I think it changes some of the calculation for items you want to shoot for.
And I think just also like the early healing you can do as well with that. I mean, 1600 item for healing nova, that can really turn the tides of a fight. Like for sure, you can kind of like make people get too cocky thinking that, okay, we can get this kill, we have the health advantage. Then you pop this and all of a sudden it's a really easy turnaround for you. But also for Calico in particular, if we're talking about, you know, Saf, you don't really go into ethereal shift anymore because it's too expensive. This can kind of, you know, act a little bit similar, like a little, you know, a baby ethereal shift, give it extra heal after you return to shadows to kind of survive and look to fight more.
Okay, let's jump and talk rosters here, guys. Plenty to discuss. I'm sure it's going to continue. Virtus.pro, team who needs no introduction. We're going to do it anyway. Sharik, Mikhail, Dimov, Listic, Oberkim, And Zergy, of course, Coach Lightbringer, someone we got to catch up with earlier today. Thanks for the time to give us an idea of what to expect going forward. Like Jason mentioned, ZP, this is a team that's kind of built to be agnostic to the ebbs and flows of a game in development like Deadlock is.
Yeah, I mean, look, this has also been the most reliable roster in all of Deadlock, period. I mean, you could outdo NA by keeping a roster together for maybe about a week, but within EU, there has been roster stability across a bunch of rosters, but now we've seen some change-ups, except for Virtus.pro. And maybe when you're winning everything, it's easy to keep the roster consistent, but all the way back to their Buff Enjoyers days, this team has only had one roster change, ever, and that was when they swapped out Piggy for Obakim, but after that, they have been rock solid the entire time. So, like, not only is this an incredibly versatile team that doesn't feel like they need to make roster shifts when they do lose, the fact that they've played together this long has kind of led to a thing where their hero pools have evolved with each other over time and has led them probably having more versatility than any other team in Deadlock.
Also being the only team or the only roster signed to like a pro organization as well. I don't think you want to make too many roster changes, and you also are going to push even harder because you don't want to lose that slot. You don't want to lose that.
Are you
that
telling
salary
me
you get every month?
Are you telling me that One Win aren't a very reputable organization with a multitude of products on different platforms?
Maybe I should take that back actually, because that is actually true. I have to give you that.
Very above board, of course. Would
Yeah.
never suggest otherwise.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that back.
And
I don't want
Noah's
to
in
get
the
too much
chat.
into it.
Okay, now that Jason is just crushed for a second, look, at the end of it is like, look, getting this level of support is definitely helpful. There is there are other teams that have been providing support in the scene. I think also Paravision was providing a salary too, just to be clear. So, you know, sponsorship isn't the only thing in the mix here for VP, but, you know, it helps.
I mean, again, you know, I'd like to think that we are basically funding VP's operations for this team by giving them $1,000 a week. That's how, that's the way I see it. And they're back here for their paycheck once more. All they're going to do is dance for us for a best of 3. Let's go across and talk about their opponents again. We just witnessed them dismantle Murlocs pretty handily. Abrahams are together. Taz, Saf, Saint, Jamside, and Hood. And these guys are known names. Much of them, obviously, this ex-Paravision roster with Hood coming in and really putting the work in. Coach Parzival, of course, at the helm. This team, I was hoping for more from them last week, if I'm going to be honest. Virtus.pro looked too clean in that series.
I think that's a little harsh, to be fair. I know where you're coming from, but the fact is, if you're shifting around half your roster, and you've only had like a week of play or less than a week of play, how are you going to take on the #1 team in EU? Like, how are you going to look better than what they were able to provide us? I think for me, the changes we did see in the team with like them focusing more on macro play and not letting leads slip, seeing them against One Win, that was more of like what I kind of hoped to see them, and I think that alone was a big improvement. I think you're being a little bit harsh though, expecting them to like,
my
take
response
down
to that,
Pro.
L plus ratio plus didn't ask, honestly.
Oh, come on.
That's crazy.
Come on.
That's crazy. My guy. Again, fair enough. I think this team is clearly the #2, right? There is a gulf between any team in Virtus.pro right now. But, you know, we're looking at this team and we're continuing to see their macro improve. And I think ZP, we just hope to see it get to the point where they can legitimately challenge Virtus.pro, give us a real fight for the top.
Well, also, I don't think there's any week where your overall status and history matters less than a new patch week. Everything is incredibly disruptive right now. We know that EU, for a fact, has not had a ton of scrims under their belt. There's so much unknown in this current patch in terms of what is truly the best stuff that the meta week to week right now is going to be radically changing across both regions. And what people are doing right now, people are going to look back in a few weeks and go like, I can't believe you're running that stuff at a top level, because this is really what you should have been running, which means that you have completely set the table right now for upsets. You have completely set the table right now for teams to get caught off guard. So even if VP has been ahead, this right now is probably the most dangerous week VP has had in a very long time.
There's definitely the possibilities, you know, Abrahams could pull out some ridiculous like combination of items on a certain hero that completely catches you off guard just because you haven't had the time in 1 week of play to really figure out all the like inner workings of what they potentially could see coming through. But after talking to Listic and Lightbringer before DFN today, we have a kind of inkling of what they value as very high pick heroes, and I want to see if we actually do see them lock those in this first match.
Getting shot at.
Huh. Abram still being so respected. Obviously, how did Abrahams end up being first pick in this game? Did VP give up first pick?
They have the choice. We always give the edge to the challenging team, where you're coming on in. It's a small benefit, but we enjoy a little bit of turnover here at Deadlock Fight Night. So you're the challenging team. You had to just play a match to get on in. Yeah, you get your pick of first or second. That's fine. So this is Abraham's electing that they really value first pick. And I think clearly to an extent it was probably the go for the Shiv. But now what do you value after? Does Wraith have, her spot back as the queen of Europe that she once had before she kind of fell into the gutter for the last few months?
Feels like forever since we've seen her like legitimately picked since this last match we saw before this one. But yeah, I mean, obviously our eyes, DP, are definitely set onto like what's going to be super valuable when it comes to picks and priorities. The Shiv being taken away, it doesn't seem like Abrahams is going to care too much locking in the Kelvin. And one thing we did talk about with VP was about like Scourge and Kelvin in the interactions, because it does % of your max health. That's a lot of damage that can be done, especially when you be sitting front line, especially when you're locked in a frozen shelter. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Kelvin be like a top priority pick at a lot of teams, but also a big damage dealer and a big impact player in these games.
Also, Arctic Blast, I want to see more, people sort of maybe that want to pick that up. Of course, that slow is pretty crucial and also adds bonus damage. Builds out of Cold Front, which we've seen a number of these heroes pick up. So Paradox going to be taken here by Virtus.pro. The consensus being that Paradox is the premier sort of initiator right now, especially with Rescue Beam being fairly prolific amongst these top teams. And yeah, this is a strong core, boys.
Yeah, and Wraith is back. That's right. It's a full-on I'm thinking of back. Wraith is back after a long period of time of just not being valued because of her early lane presence, the barrier bug she had to deal with. Everything's turned up Wraith. The new itemization is way better for items like Mercurial Magnum, and she doesn't have to worry about that bug in lane anymore. Now, I wonder, I was gonna say this. I wonder if Geist is coming on up, and yeah, Geist also still doing real well with the changes where, people have more HP. Well, I guess a swap that's based on percentage of HP, that'll be doing just fine.
ZP, I like how Zergy outlasted, I'm just going back to Wraith really quickly, he outlasted the downfall of his hero pool in that last patch to come anew, to be rebirthed as a Phoenix.
He was playing 7
back into Wraith.
He traded water at the least, I think, here. Now, this Sinclair pick from Abrahams, I think what they did when they saw Sinclair picked against them, they went and banned the Warden because they did not want to play Warden into it and risk having the ultimate stolen, but they did not want to face both of them. So that might end up dictating a ban here for Virtus.pro, lest they have to deal with that combination. And obviously, we've sort of seen Sinclair with some pretty decent hexes in that previous game to try and set some stuff up. It was a nice Deathland combo. We don't see this often, guys. We do not see Paradox and Holiday often picked at the same time, but when we do, it's pretty brutal.
It also now forces Abrahams to, if VP ban Bebop, there goes all your initiates. But also the fact is Bebop is kind of in the gutter lately.
Not good, right?
He's not as good anymore. A lot of changes to his kit. He's not as effective. He's completely, in my opinion, kind of fallen off. Obviously, he still has potential with picks. But this is going to be interesting because now it forces Hoot to, I would say, assume Hoot. No, actually, I probably would be Saint still going to be on the Bebop to pick it up.
There's a Warden ban.
Yeah, the Warden getting banned here, not too surprising, where again, it just, you don't want to pick it against a Sinclair. And look, it may be really good. I mean, you talk about, the impact of items coming on in, Mercurial Magnum. Warden was already building QSR in every game anyways, and you've now given him a direct upgrade that scales really well off bullet damage, which of course Warden brings in spades. So, Warden's probably one of those heroes that's pretty good. Still kind of hit a little bit by the fact that there's just ubiquitous anti-heal in the game, but regardless, this is kind of interesting for Abrahams and what they're gonna pick for more late game power. But
Ultra initiate comp.
giving up Paradox Holiday a little bit problematic, I think, for Abrahams.
We'll see what the pick is here. Yamato banned by Abrahams now, so Lash is brought in.
Here I am.
They want every initiator. I'm here for it, honestly. Lash, Holiday, Paradox all picked up. Not a lot of bulk in this team, but again, now you can really invest on a very focused direction in your build. So it's something you don't need to maybe worry about as much, but VP might opt to bring some more durability into their draft. Also, guys, Dynamo. We talk about Dynamo. Is he also potentially making an appearance again?
Sorry, I saw something else that I'm interested in. Yeah, as we discussed earlier. Yeah,
Do you want to
Dynamo,
talk about? Yeah, okay. We'll
No,
get
no,
to it.
I'll leave it for now. As you mentioned, Dynamo, like in my games, now, albeit I'm not playing in Eternus, I'm playing a level above that, obviously, right? It's a super
Yes.
secret
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
rank that you can
Mount
get.
Olympus.
Yeah, Mount Olympus. Dynamo does ridiculous healing. Like, it is insane how much he can pump here for these teams if you play around him as well. Still very strong with Singularity. Arcane Surge could be a very good item for him, too, on top of that. I wouldn't be surprised to see it like more prioritized because the amount of healing he can do. But ZP, I mean, you look like you're gonna burst because you have something you want to say.
Oh, actually, no, I'm just taking it all in. I'm just excited to see the new looks that we've been seeing. But okay, from the VP end and where they're going to come here, I kind of agree with the Dynamo pick just because I do think if you're expecting the game to go late, having an ideal carrier for healing tempo is probably pretty important. It's one of the items that, you know, the last game went a little bit by too quickly. We didn't get to look into it, but you talk about an item that will radically just up your team's level of performance while healing tempo is it. And that's probably why Kelvin was super highly valued. But now they're going Ivy for VP. It's hard to say because, you know, you can build Ivy either support, you could still build Ivy gun. And the fact that they've gone Calico, to me, would lend this more in the idea that they would be doing it more support because it's probably going to be Zergy on the Wraith, right?
Also,
so,
you can't debuff remove the stun from Ivy's ultimate now. So that's another, you know, hero that's really benefited from the change to the item. My question to you guys is, does Watcher's Covenant actually apply the heal to the teammate that would give them the healing tempo proc, or is it only self-heal that player gets because they're tethered? Because, you know, I think it's supposed to give you health back for the damage you do. Yeah.
No,
but is
it's
this healing
damage Ivy does, right? Heals the target of Watcher's Covenant. So healing tempo should apply that to the target.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice because then it gives more fire rate and move speed to the tethered target.
To Zergy.
And to you, right? And to you.
Yes, yeah. The ground rule for healing tempo is that if it is a spell or ability that is directly applying healing, is not passive healing. So, you know, for Abrams, for example, if Abrams with Infernal Resilience gets some healing, it's not going to trigger healing tempo. But if it is anything that is actively giving healing, whether it be from an ability, item, etc., it is going to give you the full effects of healing tempo. So generally speaking, there's a lot of different things you can do to proc it.
Now, Mitch, you were talking about Dynamo when Viscous was locked in, and you saw a grin come on my face. I wanted you to actually talk about why I had this smile.
So, I mean, first of all, some pro players don't think Viscous is great right now. Also, were you excited about the rebuttal point? You wanted to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, yeah, let's do that. Rebuttal is obviously an item that you can buy at tier 1 that lets you parry and makes your parry more powerful, Jason. People forget, I think, that Puddle Punch acts as a melee attack from Viscous. So how does Rebuttal interact with that ability?
So you heal off a parry, but you also reflect the damage off the parry from a melee. So Viscous can basically punch himself by puddle punching someone else.
Stop hitting yourselves.
Exactly.
Yes,
I mean, I'm not sure if we're gonna see the item built up, obviously, like very early on, but it can be such a funny counter to deal with Viscous in the very early game. I almost want to see it just for the memes, to be fair.
That'd be so funny. I don't know if it's... I think that's the only scenario in which it's actually good. Outside of that, Rebuttal not always sort of... It feels a little bit too narrow, a little bit too conditional. CP, last thoughts on this draft, because we've been focusing a lot on the micro, a lot of like individually what these heroes are going to do, but let's zoom out here and get your take. Looking across both these sides, who do you feel is the better draft here?
I mean, between the two teams, probably VP, in the sense that I don't know if the game has changed enough to be like, you can give up two of the most important initiators in the game and still be okay. I think not having a Paradox or Holiday, not having something like a Bebop. I mean, Abraham's, their main goal to get fights is simply to walk at you. And
no playmaker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit difficult. I think, you know, some of the Viscous anti-hype that you have in this patch, specifically because of Rebuttal and some other factors, negates it down a little bit more. I think, truthfully, I think the Warden ban may have thrown Abraham's a little bit for a loop in what they're going for. And also, it's, for me, even with debuff remover getting changed where, you know, it should be less effective versus Pocket, I'm not necessarily a believer in Pocket at the moment. Maybe it can be be quite good, but overall, I feel like VP has drafted more traditional power on top of the fact they got Wraith, where I think Wraith is probably ridiculous right now. So overall, in terms of power and options, got to give it to VP.
I mean, yeah, Paradox Wraith and Holiday is disgusting. It's really good. And Lash, You know, Abraham's, yeah, if they wanted to initiate, Jason, I think, referred to it, they would have to have picked Bebop, who isn't particularly strong. That said, they have Sinclair, someone who can replicate those initiation ultimates, right? So can give you paradoxical swap if you need it. Can also, the problem is you don't want to do that because you don't get time, you don't get the time wall, right? So you'd rather dupe the lasso, but then that could be rescue beep. So it's definitely like a Walmart initiate.
I mean, yeah, like a budget initiate. I mean, there's at least like 3 initiates they could use from this, but I'm also looking at like a lot of pressure being applied to the Sinclair of like, if you don't have an initiate, you have to be the one for your team, which means you have to be able to steal the ultimate and then get off in the right situation. But at the same time, I look at Abraham's and I'm like, counterspell could be pretty damn good for them, to be fair. You can block out the Lash ultimate, you can block out the lasso, you can block out the paradoxical swap, you can block out the telekinesis. There's a lot of ultimates you can technically shut down. But as we did obviously hear with Jake earlier on, like if you're behind, investing in counterspell is gonna be very difficult to do since it's still gonna be a 3k item that you're not gonna get much value off it other than countering those initiates. You're still not gonna be able to fight them head to head when it comes to like just the gun or spirit damage.
Okay, well, we're waiting to jump in the game, folks. As a player from the Abraham's roster that has seen Paradox Holiday picked against them and they've left the Discord server. They're not responding to their coach, so we're just waiting for them. Maybe some internet issues. So yeah, we should be just a couple moments away from being in game here. But listen, I don't blame them. I look at this Virtus.pro draft and I am terrified. I'm incontinent.
It was internet issues, but we got the answer. It is Jamside, and Jamside is back. So it's not one of those situations where it's like, Jamside fell asleep, get a sub. No. He is here for the EU money match and good to go.
Oh, man. I hope you don't fall asleep and have to get a sub when it comes to a match like this up against Virtus.pro for the 2nd week in a row here for Abrahams. Though we can't see the DC still in game when it happens for it. You know, CP, while we have you here, I actually want to get your thoughts on like Hoot as a player, because we saw him initially with My Dog back in the day, a very long time ago, and he was very impactful when it came to Bebop. But I think for me, he's been like quickly growing as a very big standout player in EU, and it's nice for me to see him get a good opportunity here in Abrahams.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hoot right now is just got proven to be a very versatile player, whereas it turns out if you're ultra exceptional in one hero, you've probably played enough of the game that you can branch out and be good at other heroes. And, you know, this happens sometimes where, you know, a player comes out of nowhere, does really good, makes a name on one thing, and then turns out to be good at more. So seeing Hoot evolve and now get involved with the Abraham's roster, by all accounts, probably the 2nd best team in Europe, it's pretty exciting to watch.
All right, we're going to catch up with ZP at a couple of points throughout the game. But for now, it's off to the Cursed Apple for the first game in this best of 3 with $1,000 on the line, as per usual, thanks to our friends over at Intel. Now, if Dimov had an Intel processor, there would not be this pause, but that's fine. A little gameplay stutter. We're back into it.
Okay, so they're keeping together on playmaking heroes. They're putting them onto Pocket. He's like him and Jamster are still going to be the staple playmakers for the team. Though I wouldn't necessarily want to count out Saf either. But they're putting Pocket and they're putting, was that Hoot and Sinclair in towards middle up against Holistic on Lash and Dimov on Holiday. And that's a lot of control. Like when those ultimates come online, that's a lot of kill potential out of Virtus.pro. Obviously, Hoot and together can be very mobile and have a potential for escape. I think that poke definitely to come in early for the Abraham side here, as you're already seeing.
Yeah, Hoot trying to be a nuisance here and create a little bit of space put together to get that farm safely. Listic's seen better days. That's kind of always the issue for Lash in some of these early game scenarios. Probably needs to be looking at your extra regen, in this lane, maybe resto shot as well, just to smooth out some of the early game bumps, because, God, Sinclair is such a pain in the backside with this poke that consistently comes down.
I'm looking for also the boxes. We did see last game. I think it was... Actually, I don't remember who it was who was running around getting the boxes initially, as we're going to hit the 2-minute mark in a second. And you can already see Saint on the left-hand side is already flexed out to do so. But yeah, I think, and actually at the same time, you're seeing Obi Kim do the same. And again, considering if you leave a player in that lane, doesn't matter now pre-8 minutes or not, they get more souls. As a team and as a duo in that lane, you get more souls overall to really start to snowball your lane.
See, this is obviously the woes for some of these. Oh, that's dirty. Okay. Holistic. Beautiful redirection of the bolt there from Hoot. Just ends up sniping that Lash away, who just couldn't really hang in the lane. Some of these initiators, not great laners early in the game. So Abraham's really recognized some of the peak of their power actually goes quite early on. So healing right got to be taken by Hoot to make sure it continues to be an utter nuisance.
I think to be fair for Abrahams too, if you want to have like a strong game here, you're going to have a decent start for sure. You cannot afford to fall behind and then have a pick comp just pushing straight in towards you. And now we see Hoot breaking off, going to be going for some box farming here at the same time. Remember, 5-minute mark still going to be something we have to keep an eye on since the buffs will be spawning in about 2 minutes time. And already Listic looking for that initial catch, gets hexed up here, has some ability to get away.
All right. Yeah, of course, Listic can play from the rooftops here to some degree. Hoot, I thought no one drops down into mid in order to take these boxes yet. Perhaps they feel that's a little on the risky side. Light drain here for Saf expiring. Sharik in deep trouble, caught out by the bomb. Nice showing here for Abrahams. This is on that left side lane. And someone's looking very low. It's KLS here who really has to back away. Healing Nova popped by the looks of things, but now they're going to have to head up the rope on the other side of this Veil. Same has an over of his own here. Got so many of these healing actives in lane. Saf even with a right they can use now.
You know, we talked about like these S-tier lanes quite a bit. We talked about like your Abrams, your Vindicta, your Kelvin, your Shiv. I wonder, where would we place, maybe ZP can come in really quickly, where would we place Kelvin and Geist in our tier list of like strength in a lane?
Small price to pay.
I mean, overall,
like
I would say you're not going to lose the lane in most cases. You're not necessarily guaranteed to win the lane, but it's really difficult to push them both out. And now that Vitality has more of a benefit, that more and more heroes are incentivized to go things like Healing Nova. I mean, look, you got a Geist that's 4 minutes into the game at, over 1k HP being backed up by a Kelvin. It's not, you're not going to be able to push Kelvin Geist out of lane early. I think that much is for sure. Unless you get swapped.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Overkim there already fell. Chase is on for Sharik, but of course Kelvin is faster on that ice path, and it does dissipate behind him. So Sharik really busting out all the tech to try and chase him down. Back to Abe form now. God, he really wants to fight here. CT Mob starting to build up. Of course, an extra region a must take in this kind of lane, and looks like the two of those have had their hatches battened for the better part of this 5-minute game so far. But VP, despite this early action, doing pretty well on the farming front here, Jason.
Yeah, keeping up, even though I don't think they've had a single kill unless it just came in a few seconds ago. They're kind of heavily losing when it comes to kills, but keeping up when it comes to farm. First buff spawned in, and Listic going to get the catch onto Jams. As I was talking about before, you got to look for those 5-minute marks as being a real a focal point out of teams, because those buffs can give you a lot of extra control in the lane, especially if you're losing out on them. But I didn't see who actually picked it up. Was it Listic or was it Jamside that secured
Jamside.
that? Okay.
Jamside.
So he goes down with
died
it.
Instantly. Yeah. And you'll notice that the Sinclair, a massive, a pretty great poke threat there without any real investment in towards that gun. I think it was just a headshot boost that they ended up taking. Misty goes down eventually. Hoot is, doing his job pretty beautifully here. And so despite that, Virtus.pro looking to just to survive this rather tumultuous early game, stay pretty close in souls, and they look to make the plays. Of course, many of those ultimates are online here. So popped. Hoot here able to back away from it though. Dimov is not able to catch Sinclair.
Yeah. Oh, no. That was actually the other way around. That was Hoot with the audience participation stealing it from Dimov and then going and trying to get the last one. Doesn't connect. But again, I think more so like in these two teams in the combos they're running with their drafts, Abrahams needs to be ahead in the early game, not so much Virtus.pro, because you have so much initiate out of VP. There's the last one coming through and Dimov catches up together. The melee gonna miss for Listic, which actually works out for him because he finishes things off with the ground slam, the ground strike.
Now, did Sinclair actually neutralize their ultimate while he steals it? Because Dimos was on cooldown as well.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, well, I think they actually lassoed each other potentially. I swear to God, I saw Dimobs also on cooldown after that little engagement. So, regardless, Frozen Shelter here, counteracted to some degree by Return to Shadows, but someone needs to help this Calico eventually. Death Slam. Okay, good for 2. Oh, that's nasty for Saint. Listic descends upon them, and that is a big turning point here for Virtus.pro. This fight on his left side lane. They're trying to force, obviously, Saf entirely away so they can get some big Guardian damage.
They might trade out though on the right-hand side. Some pressure being applied there, but still with the bad advantage for Virtus.pro. With no big ultimates online for them though on the left-hand side, they might have to actually look to back away or be very, very careful here. Saint's going to be reinforcing the lane. So's Hoot going to be coming in from the side, who does have audience participation up. He could steal the Death Slam for himself and look for a kill. And here we go. Fight's going to break out to 3-on-3.
Tank going a little bit low, has the Frost Grenade to ground. Actually got Sharik with that damage there, so it fits a dual purpose in the end. Trying to get upstairs now. Healing Nova not available for the Kelvin. It's getting a little bit awkward. He's trying to juke by a little bit of time maybe for the rest of Abrahams to arrive, but Listic will eventually deal with him. See Hoot here back under his own tower here. Guardian, excuse me, as Virtus.pro keep that pressure up on this left side. Now the playmaking ability of the KLS on the Paradox is online.
Yeah, 6,000 souls. I mean, so far, pretty much keeping up equal in souls across the board here for VP up against Abrahams. They're leaving
getting that mid
Dimov.
farm. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was going to look to. Is they're leaving Dimov and Together to actually be the two to farm up in the respective lanes. And to be fair, they can do a lot of damage, especially if we see Gun Holiday with the crack shot coming through. Another fight's going to break out. That's Abraham's getting aggressive for the Cinder Sacrifice.
Here's a life drain here on towards Sharik. Okay, Frost Grenade hit as well. This is very bad for the Calico. I don't know if Sharik can really get away. Return for Shadows. Does allow him to run away. So Abraham's constantly generating threat on this left side lane, but Lash is in the vicinity. Listic drops down, does some damage. Still not really being respected. An audience participation copy. Death Slam comes in from Hoot. And it caught Listic out. Hit him with the Hex as soon as he drops on down. And Sharik is really nothing to do here. No help coming, I think, outside the Paradox here. Michaelis does turn up, but is that going to be enough? Keep an eye on that ultimate that is on cooldown presently. The Saint goes for a little bit of that sustain, get some heals back on, and Zap wants to fight. Stick around, take on Sharik, does get hit by one of those carbines, and will eventually, finally, back away.
It's a little 1-for-1 trade. I'm kind of surprised, actually, to see like how well Abraham's... Well, I shouldn't be really surprised. Maybe I misspoke there, but they're really keeping up with Virtus.pro quite well. So I think Virtus.pro going to be a little bit weak in this week of play at DFN, considering they haven't had a ton of time to practice when it comes to scrims. But both teams just matching each other up when it comes to this left-hand side. However, we're going to be seeing a big push on the right-hand side, more importantly, at a 3 players for Virtus.pro. But Obik is actually going to be the one to go down. Jam side with the Bolt Dance is able to get the one, gets the parry off as well, and hopefully get back to the Guardian in time to stay alive, as a chase isn't going to be there.
Yep, out he gets. Jam side. Just chilling, walking away from that fight. Swift Striker picked up there, which is really just like a straight-up fire rate increase, which means more of those stacks can be applied by the Haze. Nice little item, not the most exciting, but it definitely does its job. From the right side here now, Zerga wants to apply some pressure. Left side, of course, also a Guardian take is underway. Zerga gets that Guardian first, though. Remember, VP had already lost their mid Guardian, which is the tankiest of all of them. That's probably more notable, I think. And so Abraham's going to keep themselves ahead in those objectives and get their first flex slot online.
The first flex slot going the way of Abraham's, though the fight is still continuing here. The chase is going to be coming through. Out of Shard. That's going to come on. Actually connects on the Sap, but it gets... Actually, no. The essence of the... Oh my god, the Soul Chains gets canceled out by the return to Shadows, so Sap doesn't get the health from it, and he goes down instead.
Yeah, great timing there from Sharik. Not sure. I mean, assumes it has to be intentional there, seeing a very low health Lady Geist makes you a little bit wary. Nicely employed there now. It's getting a little bit dicey. Abraham's... The Sap returning to the fight pretty quickly. Michaelis has gone down, so if you see a zipline boost, this might be an opportunity to turn things around on that left side. Listic out of the game. Finally, Hoot has been dealt with now. And Virtus.pro really digging their heels in over here by this left side lane. Sharik tries to back away there. Unfortunately, no escape from Together, who quietly has been getting into the game in a big way with 12k souls on his pocket.
He's starting to get pretty damn farmed, and he's starting to have some, like you're saying, some pretty big impact here. He's quite far ahead of the rest of his teammates, and a lot of the souls that they do have has been heavily invested in towards him. Has been able to stick in towards these solo lanes, get a lot of farm going. I mean, he's been in middle for a long time, and honestly, if I'm going to compare him against Dimov, at least when it comes to heroes, I feel like having a fed pocket's going to really give you more than a fed holiday.
Yeah,
the first one's being...
Sorry, some of this itemization is fun, and notice like both of the kinetic dash and arcane surge being picked up here, which is really interesting. So increasing your range. Express shot's also a fun itemization pathway. You know, giving you like your crack shot virtually making it much more powerful because you fire in twice quick succession after not firing for a little bit. So don't know if we'll end up going there, but yeah, it's gonna have to be like an investment in the gun build for Dimov, I think, to justify this soul allocation to the holiday.
Well, to be fair for Demo, any hero he plays, I'll never count him out on. And I know he's going to make the souls worth it. But in terms of like raw damage, obviously, Together could be able to apply a lot more. But we are going to see Virtus.pro get their next Guardian. So they're going to get their own flex slot finally unlocked. But they've lost all three of theirs. So they're going for a chase here. Trying to go for initial catch. Listic just trying to escape. It's good movement. Also, I mean, some changes we didn't really mention when it comes to... The slower you're moving, the more air resistance you have, so it's easier to actually move around. Obviously, the difference with like wall jumping now makes it a little bit easier. I'm waiting to see like pros in terms of how they actually like work out the tech of movement in the game nowadays. I know we've seen probably some Reddit threads of people and some videos of like how they can move from lane to lane. But Lash is really going to have to master that when it comes to Listic playing him.
It's a great point. Obviously, someone who had even more onus on them to be active in the early game. Which is something I think that, you know, seeing these top level games is a great way to witness, because obviously it will happen less commonly in your pugs, especially in those sort of lower level matches. So Listic has to be about it. Let's be getting busy. Taking stock of things though, there's only one Guardian left here for Abrahams, and it is down to about half, but they do have that sort of objective lead right now. So a little puddle punch and a low majestic leap. Listic sees an opportunity maybe to snarl together up, but his affliction has just come off cooldown. Oberkim there goes for a drop. Looks like did catch on to Saint. Maybe a brief stun applied, but nothing to really start off a fight. Looks like he's pulled off of it.
Wonder if Obekim's like, come on, let me do the full Zergy here. Let me do the full gun Ivy, so we can see some spirit items already being built up. Probably
Split
not
shot.
going to be
That's
happening.
what I want to see, man. Split shot Ivy.
Yeah, I mean, split shot, as we got to talk to Listic and Lightbringer, it's not controversial, but I think it has like mixed thoughts on how it could be good and who it could be good on. I'm looking more towards like armor piercing rounds if we get that ever built up for some people. Because I know
the debuff maybe. Is that good?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know or make any sort of justification or guess at it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think the pros fully know what items are like fully good on what heroes just yet either.
So armor piercing rounds give you an extra 30% velocity, but 65% chance to ignore bullet resistance and pierce through them. Oh, there's the Mercurial Magnum picked up by Zerky. We can obviously see that in the overlay. So does this Wraith now become a real terror, a real presence in this game? Because Jamside and Together, both respectively, are really nicely farmed up here.
Can we actually, maybe we have a second, to our lovely observers, actually see Jamside's items? Because I'm kind of curious what he's building into when it comes to the haze. Because we know haze can be a lot more powerful now, especially when it comes to the mid game. Maybe we'll get to see it on the death screen here as it gets caught. Just hoping that guys, can I get some help?
Okay. And taken down. Notice the Tesla bullets pick up here.
Souls.
Yeah, that is it's kind of juicy.
Well, sorry, the reason I bring that up is he's saving for focus lens, as we talked about before. And look at those catches.
No, it would be capacity because that gets discounted. So yeah, probably. Because he has Tesla bullets, right? In the past, like Tesla bullets weren't always seen as great because they didn't build into much. They kind of seemed like odd in that regard, but now they like build into a tier 4. So that discount sometimes really incentivizes buying those Tesla bullets in the first place. Saint here dealt with, of course. And we're looking for Zergy again to take over this game. Not a bad start at all, but wow, he just ceased to exist there. That is absolutely brutal stuff.
Just trying to think. What is he going to remove? Like what buff? I mean, you can remove the race like attack speed from her 3.
The KLS slow? Oh, so remove a buff, not a debuff, pardon me.
Yeah, so I'm like thinking like I don't know if it removes stone form. I think it does remove stone form. So it makes it so you can kill Obi-Kim. I think it takes you out of Ava. I don't know if that's I actually don't fully know like all the interactions with this. I want to say yeah, it takes off Ava from Calico.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm curious.
Yeah, there it is.
This will be the first time we get to see it. So we'll actually see.
Focus lens.
It is focus lens. Okay.
Yeah. So that makes sense because capacitor would have been discounted by Tesla bullets, right? So you wouldn't have to save that sort of 6.4k. So focus lens we talked about at the start of the game. It silences an enemy and then will deal an extra 30% of the damage they take during the silence window after the fact. So obviously it's just amazing for increasing your damage and making someone virtually unable to fight back against you. Jamside wants to get in, get those assassinations and get out clean, but looks like they're the one that could be in trouble. Telekinesis does catch on. Disarm for a time and healing right pop now to try and get them on out here. Surely they don't walk away from this. Wall climb, wall jump. There's the swap to secure it. Jamside down, but anytime Zergy fell, this Wraith pretty squishy. Definitely getting a lot of attention. So Abraham's turned that into a reasonable trade of carries here. And in comes Together, trying to land. Satchel takes a lot of damage off Michaelis. Caught inside the grenade is Together. Should eventually be able to chase this Paradox down. And Abraham's trade up in that exchange. Make it even.
2 for 2. Urn's still in play though. To look to be turned in. Can try to get the stomp onto Together, but does escape with his satchel. And you can still see Abraham's half position around the urn turn in here. They still have frozen shelter, so they still have like a big ultimate to use in this fight. Audience participation is open as well. The task picks up the urn. He's going to run it back, and I don't think Virtus.pro are going to get here in time. Frozen shelter can be used just to confirm it. But that's a big ultimate now down that maybe Virtus.pro are looking for an engage.
Also, Capacitor probably... I see this in chat, by the way. Capacitor probably removes Cube, which could be pretty sick, potentially. Okay, he's bullet dance, though. Okay. Sharik instantly hit by the Hex, and Overkim had no support during that window. Abraham's team comp looks terrifying, but together, Hoot and Taz, quite low. They're going to be given a chance, though, to duck back to base and heal up. And finally, Dimov is going to be able to get that Guardian. That mid Guardian hung around for a heck of a long time, but amidst all of that, it was the Walker on the left side that went down for Abraham. So Virtus.pro starting to flex their macro muscles a bit, Jason. Now with a soul lead.
Hey, I feel like they've been put on the back foot for the most part, at least when it came to kills, but obviously when it came to farm, they were keeping up. And I really wish we had this like information in game of like how many souls has the team gotten from boxes, because that's gonna be super important. How much have they gotten from jungle camps? With obviously the 3 Guardians being down for both teams, it opens up a lot of the jungle, especially the left Walker being down. Virtus.pro can really invade that left-hand side. But they're not really far enough away from each other for comeback mechanics to really kick in. Like, it's not too big of a lead just yet. Though I think, you know, soon we're going to have some of these big fights break out where one team can easily push into, you know, a 5-10K lead. And that might happen on the right-hand side right now in the jungle.
Does the counterspell there on the Lady Geist of Saf. So definitely trying to play around the telegraph nature of... That is the Lash. That's the Sinclair there with a copied ultimate. Does land the Hex there on listing off in the periphery, but they do get caught out by the telekinesis by the looks of things. Affliction got popped as far as we can tell. Together forced back now. Looks like Virtus.pro want to operate from a position of power, and they want to dive here on Abrahams as they try and get out. Tass with the goo ball back towards the middle part of the map, and there's a convergence here on the position of Jamside. Taz doubles back, tries to help him out. Jamside goes very, very low. Rescue beam, pop, frozen shelter now will be deployed, but the enemy are inside there with them. And it's nothing that Sane could have done to keep Jamside alive. Their Overkim descends, and here comes Dimov getting involved in the fight in a big way. How do you bounce back from these ones, folks? A lot of those big items here, the gun items picked up by the Holiday. Dimov starting to become a legitimate threat.
Now there's that 10K lead that we're talking about. Potential take mid bosses there as well, but the buffs are spawning at the perfect time for them. Gonna be giving that over to Zergy. Talked about how squishy Wraith is. Well, that extra health is going to help him survive. Living up to that buff's true name here in these fights, and with extra regen too. This mid boss is going to be taken. The one thing about Virtus.pro is it might be a new patch, but they're still damn good at team fights.
Yeah. And again, the macro gameplay hasn't changed too much. Is that read to take momentarily now as Abrahams are converging around this point. Kudzu bomb thrown in. Satchel, here's the Death Slam coming in from Listing, trying to interrupt it, and VP secure that Rejuvenator. They've done this dance many times before, folks. They had exactly what was required to make sure it didn't get slipped away from them. On board Berserky here. We've been waiting to see what this Mercurial Magnum gets done for them. Also, Titanic Magazine, so they just need a slight ammunition increase to basically make sure they never have to reload, and that'll get you there.
Exactly. That's specifically what that item is going to be for here. And you're really going to see Zergy start to pop off in these fights if he has the space to do so, which I think that's kind of the goal for Listic and Obikim, is to kind of, and I guess Shark is giving him that space he needs to just put down so much pain. And obviously, the longer this game goes on, the stronger and stronger he's going to become. Also, the kind of...
Carry on.
Yeah, also the weaker the Abrahams is going to get, because Jamside, at least in particular when it comes to Haze, is going to fall off, and that focus lens is going to be countered by debuff remover.
Exactly. That, of course, is a non-ultimate debuff that can be taken off. Already noticed debuff removers being picked up here. Zergy has one. Dimov has one as well. They're quite mindful of that. And notice here that the Wraith never has to stop shooting, folks. You just hold in one for the boys. That's it. Literally, that's it. You imbue your cards, so you basically always have that proc of Mercurial Magnum available, and then you just go honky-tonk on them. Burst Fire also picked up, of course, which is maybe not a huge surprise, but the slide distance increase is quite nice, basically meaning that you, again, have even less reasons to reload than before.
Zergy is he's just going to pop off. He's hit that point. He's become him here. They've taken down the Guardians. They got their last flex slot unlocked. You can see Obikim at 6.6 thousand souls. And honestly, this is just the slow bleed until Abrahams loses out in this first match. And Virtus.pro gets the 1-0 lead in this series. They take 2 more base Guardians to boot. They back away, and they have a whole lot of jungle to farm here. Honestly, I don't really see a way Abrahams gets back into this. Like, they have to hit a massive ground slam, or sorry, death slam out of a stolen ultimate. But even then, I don't think they have the damage really to take them down.
Also, Curse picked up on Michaelis. Sharik just got the Arctic Blast, by the way. So we're getting all these sick, tier 4s coming out. Lightning Scroll also being picked up here as well, which obviously Damage Stream Ultimate applies a stun and does bonus spirit damage, which is pretty powerful. Also, it reduces enemy move speed by 30% when they take spirit damage. It's so disgusting.
Bomb, man.
It
was already
stacks,
slowed
right?
from Kutsu Bomb. Yeah,
exactly.
And then you're slowed even more. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just die here. This will be my trade
Outflask as well, right? I think that Obican probably has one. Outflask also is going to be dealing that ticking spirit damage over time. So, pretty good. Pretty bloody good.
Like, it's extra. I mean, whether you're using it to be aggressive or to protect Zergy, you slow the enemies down that try to catch onto Zergy, and you allow him to just stay alive. Like that helps make him even stronger than he already was with the tether on top of that. He's going to come in to save Saf for a little bit of time, but a little bit of time is going to be exactly what that is. Or no, actually, his team gets there in time to keep him alive. So, respect.
Notice the Curse picked up there. That might have been my Michaelis there, of course. Pretty much the same as always been, right? Interrupt, silence, disarm, and prevention of item usage for that opponent. Bro, everyone wants Mercurial Magnet, bro. That shit is messed up.
It's probably, I would almost say, the strongest new item in the game by far.
Yep.
And it's crazy to me that Zergy is actually just so insane at this game. It's so fascinating that he's only 12 years old and he's playing video games at this competitive level. Like,
honestly, that's impressive that it's not his dad that's playing for him. 12-year-old prodigy. Really impressive stuff, Zergy. Keep it up, mate.
I'll try to swap them into the group.
But the inevitable Deadlock League will have an age requirement. You know what I mean? Poor guy.
I mean, by the time it happens, he'll probably be 14 by then, and then he'll probably hopefully hit the age limit he needs.
I don't know, man. No, most of the time he's like 18. Like, this is just incredible young talent. It's just gonna have to watch from the sidelines while his teammates, get them fat check.
I mean, it makes you think of like those CS players, like who are like 12,
yeah, like
years old.
Manesi. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like they gotta be cheating, but no, they're just damn good at like Dong, so damn good at the game.
We have the Boundless Spirit here for Saf. So yeah, basically. Hitting that quote-unquote endgame fantasy. Here on this Lady Geist. Virtus.pro have a 37k soul lead. Buff coming up about now. That's timed to perfection there by Saf. However, telekinesis, a little bit of an issue for them now. Death Slam comes in as a goo ball form. Saf is going to be dropped down. Frozen Shelter used by Abrahams here. So good response. Dimov and Zergy get taken down. Kelvin still bloody strong. Virtus.pro lose that fight without their rejuve buff up either. So they're out for like a minute.
That Death Slam wasn't it. That was not it. You threw the goo ball directly into Demov and his Zergy, and then they had the Frozen Shelter on top of it. You pretty much just assassinated your own team there.
Oh man, that is devastating. The Frozen Shelter is obviously very clutch there, coming in from Saint. But yeah, I think throwing a goo ball at your team is that's a rough one. So, Abrahams do get a pretty significant bump from that engagement. But remember, as a comeback mechanic, enemy hero kills are not nearly as valuable as farming. So they still need to convert this player advantage into farm across the map.
Exactly. And this earn turn is going to help quite a bit too, getting the extra souls from it. Like, this is going to be a massive swing. I mean, we were looking at, was it 37,000 before that fight broke out, Mitch? And now it's been closed down to 17. So pretty much cut in over half from just one fight alone. And now we're seeing a Walker taken, which is going to actually free up their next flex slot.
I hear the telekinesis already coming out here. Taz caught by it, trying to get away. Warp Stone to get out. Return fire as well to bounce some of that damage back, but Saint does go down. Frozen Shelter was at least deployed. Now the goo ball is something that has to be respected. Zergy does not want to be in the middle of the maelstrom here, but he has no bloody choice. Taz just rolls him and smokes him, buddy. See you later. That's what you get for being 12, buddy. Together, does get picked up though. Still a lot of work that Taz would have to do in a fight like this. Abraham's down 2, but it's an equal trade. Crucially though, the Walker still stands.
I mean, they chose to fight the most difficult Walker too. That one has the most HP in mid lane. They could have taken a side lane Walker, but I was assuming it was due to where the waves were at the time. But it's been a long time since we checked in with ZP here, and I'm gonna give him his fruit here and a chance to talk about how this game's been going, because it's been a wild ride. Honestly, I thought it was pretty much over.
My fruit. The fruit is like not my flowers, but my fruit is like
we gotta bring him in here.
We gotta give him a little bit of fruit. It's where he's at.
How do you get scurvy, bro?
Hey, look, man, everyone can use a little bit more vitamin C, but what I think is super interesting right now, just for a macro end, is the fact that I think pre-patch, if VP was as ahead as they were, this game is over. The fact that Abraham's able to find like one good team fight and bridge a lot of the gap is really, really interesting in terms of where we're at. I still think in terms of the overall pace of the game, Abraham's has their work cut out for them in the sense that VP just has way more options right now to set up beneficial fights. And I think Wraith just scales far better than Hayes does, especially when you look at like how Jamside has been building, going the Tesla bullets capacitor, path. I'm not as big of a fan of that on the Hayes even still. But regardless, take a look here. This might be very dead Sinclair as Zerky just comes on in.
Necessary? I mean,
We got the flex.
That was a lot. Did they not telekinesis and curse the guy?
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. All right, well, mid walker does go down. So that's the price that Abraham's paying in order to do that. Mid boss being tickled here. Ballistic not really fully committal in this. VP with a player advantage with a confidence very good at setting up these engagements. And here's the death slam from Listic. Saf goes down. 6 players involved in that elimination. So you can see VP are off one mind. Here's the actual death slam now. Got a bit excited. All we need is a one catch and they know it too. Together, not going to be able to walk away. Dimov ensures that. And now it's not a lot of damage left here for Abrahams. Just Jamside, the one that can really put it out. VP now have like a minute or so where they've got a 6 versus 3 or 4.
I think Zerg and Dimov had a quick chat with Listic there and was like, you can throw people into us. Just don't throw the ball. We don't want to have to deal with him, especially with Saint by his side. And I mean, just getting the one catcher together is for sure going to be worth it because it gives them the man advantage. He's down for another 50 seconds of time. And they're going to get the Rejuvenator with no one to contest it here. It comes down to like, what are they going to get off the back of this? Can they push in for that last shrine for the patron? Can somehow Shark win out this 1v1 against Jamside's one? Because currently he's losing it. Enter the shadows to buy him some time here.
Yeah, that was nicely played. Oh, okay, supply drop. There comes Stone Form. Good studs. Watches coming to pop tiers. Overkin does take Jamside out immediately. Thank God for the cavalry arriving. Sharik got, I guess it turns out their job is just to keep Jamside busy. That was the game plan for Sharik because I don't know too many situations where Calico wants to fight against a Fed Haze in the late game. But hey.
I mean, look at the respawn timer though, Mitch. 50-second difference.
Yeah,
so he's going to get back in and he's going to be able to force a 6v5 fight. Like they're going to have Jamside down. They don't have to worry about it. A little bit sad for Jamside because he pops his bullet dance and it gets rescue beamed away. But still, like Virtus.pro, I mean, they have the man advantage now for 40 more seconds. And it looks like the earn is going to be potentially the route as they were toying with the idea.
But you're right, yeah. Going 1-for-1 against teams with that rejuve is not advisable. Abraham's very punished by that. Now, of course, this is generally the hero you want the Urn to be carried on. Did they nerf the whole you can ult and then pick up Urn and then just fire it across the map? Or is that still viable?
I actually don't know if it's been nerfed yet or
that was disgusting
fixed or whatever you want to call it. But he doesn't want to use it for that turn-in because they don't necessarily need the souls. He wants to have the silence availability of his ultimate to really help win one of these fights.
All right, well, Saint is deep behind enemy lines here.
That's the worst one. That's the worst one to lose for Abrahams. That's your stall. That's your catch mechanic.
It's also, yeah, exactly. It's your frozen shelter. That was honestly pretty important to you in the game so far. Not ideal. Here's Sharik, of course. Like we mentioned, that Arctic Blast picked up at tier 4, so very much ready to be a threat amidst the middle of these fights with Torment Pulse, of course. That other sort of key item. Also, Spirit Snatch getting taken here, which is fun. Obviously, reducing that Spirit Resist. So, wants to brawl. Still rejuve, of course, on 5 of these Virtus.pro individuals. And they're now starting to close the guillotine on Abraham's Jason, knocking on the front door. And it's still 40 seconds with no Saint in the game.
They're shoving all these lanes up. The swap going to be catched on together. The curse not going to be there. The Q going to be used. And also the rescue beam to help him stay alive. And that's honestly a good play out of Abraham's. But they're going to lose more, though. So that time comes through the ball.
No, another goo ball
this time.
Another goo ball, please. Don't throw the goo ball at your team. Taz looks like he was just thrown away from the rest of Virtus.pro. Don't worry, Listic never throws twice in quick succession in the same game, in the same way. Trine's going to get cleaned up here. Should be a knock on the patron now. Virtus.pro should be in a commanding position. Abraham's are running out of opportunities here.
Zergy got armor piercing, actually. So he went for the armor piercing rounds, which gives you extra bullet velocity and a chance to pierce through enemies and ignore their bullet resistance, making it even more deadly when it comes to these 1v1s, especially if he has the space to fight in.
Yeah, maybe preferable in close quarters to something like Tesla bullets, right? Especially with such a high fire rate. You're probably you have like more than 1 in every 2 shots that proc that sort of denial of bullet resistant and sort of penetrate through. So here's Frozen Shelter. Lasso catching onto together. Follow-up should be there in the form of the Death Slam. You would think Hoot down. Overcome able to pick him up now. Warpstone on out as the curse comes in on together. The one player that can really hold the hordes of VP at bay, but it's not to be. The Polar Bears take an early lead in the series after a pretty back and forth early game, Jason. It's only a 32-minute game. Honestly, felt shorter with just how frenetic the action was, but once again, VP staying on top, at least for now.
Yeah, I actually, back and forth, I think it was actually a very one-sided early game for Abrahams when it comes to like kills alone, but I think VP did a much better job when it came to keeping up in farm, maximizing the boxes to keep the soul differential pretty much to a minimum. But then it came down to just the standard macro play and team finding potential to Virtus.pro. That one mistake, that one death slam of having Saint and Task together on top of Zergy and Dimov was the only like real mistake I saw at a VP, and that's what caused the game to extend even further. But even with this patch, even with all the changes we've had this last week, VP still come out to be the stronger team. And honestly, I don't think we were really expected to differently.
Shout out to Cayman in the chat. No, I have not played Ivy since they made the change that slows your ultimate down while you're carrying the urn. But thanks for your snarky comment, mate. Yeah. It's a lot of changes, of course, in Deadlock.
You have access to the game?
Yeah,
I'm still waiting for my invite, man.
Yeah, it's tough. And yet here we are, still putting on the show for all you guys at home. So yeah, enjoy. Sit back, relax, and maybe take your hands off the keyboard. Just soak it all in. All right, let's bring back ZP here to sort of collect us up on a bit of the final thoughts here on this first map. Is Virtus.pro inevitably able to run away with the game? They have that double initiator composition. They're able to make great use, of course, of the Holiday and Paradox, and we get to see Zergy return to form again.
I think what came here is Abrahams gave up way too much power in the draft. And look, Kelvin is good, but I don't think Kelvin is good enough to give up Paradox, Holiday, and now Wraith. I think that was probably one of the biggest things that they gave away that you probably shouldn't right now, is that running a carry Haze versus a carry Wraith. Look, it's still early. Maybe I'm underrating where Haze is at a little bit, but I think even beyond the farm advantage Zergy had, it was a massive difference in impact on the game between Zergy and Jamside. I think Wraith is just a higher caliber hero now that, you know, some of her rough spots have been smoothed out and she has new items that work even better for her. But you look at the highlight reel where half the highlight reels are Paradox swaps or Dimov coming on in with the lasso. The initiation power that Virtus.pro had was really high, and it just led to them getting favorable pickoffs more often, which led to them getting more jungle, which led to them being able to get mid-boss. Abrahams, in terms of overall mechanical play, I thought looked pretty good, especially some of the stuff that Hoot was able to pull off on the Sinclair. I just think you still need a way to initiate in Deadlock against a team of even skill, and Abrahams just did not give themselves enough win conditions with the draft that they ended up going with.
I mean, Hoot early game was punishing Listic like time and time again, constantly pelting him with these beams and just making his life a living hell. I mean, he got the first kill onto him in the lane and was able to punish him even further, but Listic was able to bounce back and have much more of an impact, whether it was for Virtus.pro side or Abraham's side with the goo ball throw. But he still became like a big threat for the team, whereas Hoot just kind of fell off, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, we saw that this composition from Abrahams had oppressive laning. Right, Virtus.pro did have to just sort of accept the punishment through the early part of the game, just given that, yeah, like a lot of these, like the Paradoxes and your Holidays of the world, like aren't necessarily constantly powerful laners. Hence, like the relatively large number of deaths you see sort of across the board here for VP. But they knew if they just sort of held out and they could actually move into the macro-oriented phase of the game, but their ability to basically take any fight at their own volition would start to come through and start to be a factor. So that's something to keep in mind as we head into these drafts here. Like Abraham's, tried to secure strong matchups. Obviously, Kelvin, someone we were expecting to see plenty of. He was banned out first, I think, in that first game, and is still extremely powerful, still able to put out a ridiculous amount of healing. Tough game for Safson, honestly, who farmed up an absolute storm, was extremely fed, and never really, I felt, got to bring that power to bear.
Yeah, and he also went like a slightly different route than what we saw from the first game, where it was more bullet heavy. This is more spirit heavy and, of course, vitality heavy. But looking like across the board at the top with these little, bars we have, going back to what Jake was talking about. I mean, look at Task and Saint. Zero investment into that bullet damage. And obviously, one thing we have to keep in mind is like how the kind of tiers work, not in terms of items, But I think it comes down to like how many souls you spend in one of these categories gives you different boons within its specific category.
Investment buffs, yeah,
exactly. And they went very heavily into the spirit damage, which is why you saw Tass able to punish Zergy so heavily when he was trapped inside with the goo ball. And then Saint as well, like just very vitality just to survive, be that front line for the team.
Yep. As he rewarded, of course, you know, your investment in a certain like category becomes more efficient the more of it that you kind of do, which was in the game beforehand, I think. But now obviously you can take way more advantage of it because you're not limited in any sort of those categories. DP, any final thoughts before we head to a quick break in the middle of the series?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the last note, I just think you're going to see way more hero identity now and way more interesting builds where if you want to go, for example, we haven't seen Mo yet, right? But when Mo comes in, if you want to go like ultimate mega tank Mo with 6,000 HP, there's room for that potentially. And if you want to be a hero that's more focused on skills, less focused on gun damage, you can do that. And how the players work around this and figure out what is good and what isn't is really gonna develop and change a lot over the course of the next few weeks. And even as I think we look forward to map number 2 here, you're gonna see some big changes from both the teams, or at the very least from the Abraham side, in draft priority. I think that their game 2 draft will look way different than game 1, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, that's right. Stick around, folks. Excuse me. We'll see after the break if Virtus.pro and 12-year-old wonder kid Zergy can close out this series at a 2-0 to take the $1,000 here at Deadlock Fight Night number 25 for EU, presented by Intel. We'll see you after these short messages. As is tradition, Virtus.pro get off to a great start in our money match here at Deadlock Fight Night number 25, presented by Intel. This is the European portion of the show, and this is Virtus.pro's house, as it always is, Jason. Decent game, though. We're still obviously learning a lot about what the game looks like under this new patch, and Virtus.pro got spanked a little bit in lane, but we're able to convert into a strong position after that.
Yeah, very strong position. And I talked to their coach really quickly after that match finished, and he told me how they actually won that game so heavily at the very end. And he said one reason they were able to do so was he got merch, some DFN merch for his whole team.
That's crazy. Do you want to win your game in under 35 minutes? And head over to our merch store, deadlockfightnight.com. Excuse me. In fairness, this Dynamo merch stonks are all the way up. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Dynamo obviously looking pretty impactful at the moment. We've got some great art there with 7. So check that out. We got a bunch of stuff over there, deadlockfightnight.com. We have our legally distinct designs available for you guys to rep. If you want to rep the brand, you want to rep some of your favorite Deadlock characters, or at least caricatures of them that are legally distinct from the IP used in the game, then you can head over and get involved. Deadlockfighter.com. There's other ways to support the show over there outside of subbing. Thank you for those that do choose to sub. If you've got a Twitch Prime that you haven't used in a while, we'd love it if you consider spending it over here. First of all, it gets rid of the annoying Twitch ads that get run midway through the game, which is not our fault, by the way. We make sure we run them manually before the games happen. So if you get done by that, check out, see if you've got yourself Prime sub, throw it our way. We'll shout you out on stream. We much appreciate it. Let's bring our analyst in now for this second map of this best of 3. It's going to be Jake coming in. Jake, look, the draft for VP looked pretty definitive, right? I was concerned a little bit about how that laning phase sort of played out, but it seems as if like just having Paradox and Holiday on your team and a really fed Wraith seemed to be more than enough to juice them over the line.
Yeah, you know, I think overall draft-wise, I felt like Abraham's wanted to play for a very aggressive early game snowball draft, but not having one of those key catch heroes kind of stifled their ability to snowball into the mid game. Like, yeah, they could win the lanes, they could play more strong, but continuing on fighting more pickoffs was a little bit too difficult for them, and the game kind of got turned around. I do think it's interesting though, because that same style being very brawly and having a lot of these like team fighting heroes also allowed them to nearly make a comeback, right? To bring a little bit of a fight back and make the game pretty interesting. So I think maybe some draft tweaks for both teams. Maybe Abraham's grabbing one of those catch heroes a little bit earlier. Maybe VP in exchange getting a little bit more team fight. That's what I kind of expect to see here in game 2.
Yep. That's not.
Abraham's like they still had like a really strong start in the game. I would say who gave a lot of potential in the mid lane. They really punished Listic. They were keeping up when it came to objectives for the most part. They weren't really too far behind. It started to slip away when you did see them start to sacrifice some heroes, like who went in for that mid lane Walker just to secure it, get that flex slot for his team. But they still like were able to go toe to toe with Virtus.pro in the beginning. But teams have been able to do that in the past, and it's not about being able to beat them in the beginning. It's about being able to beat them in the mid to late game and in the macro play, and that's something that Abrahams wasn't able to do with the comp that they were in. Shout
out Nick Asgio, by the way, for the Prime sub. We have now reached our sub goal of 100 100 subs. Thank you very much, everybody, for keeping that support coming. We've got us back up to 100. Big fan of you guys. Thanks for getting behind us here. Let's jump into the draft. It's going to be Abrams again getting looked at first. Zexo, thank you very much for the 5 gifted. Virtus.pro with a ban here. We've seen Kelvin looked at pretty closely. That's something that VP had to deal with in that last game. And I feel like in a different composition that Kelvin looks even nastier.
I think Shiv is also a huge problem here, though. So I personally am like more scared of the Shiv. I mean, I think it also got first ban in the last game, if I'm not mistaken.
That was Savannah's fault.
Interesting. They're going to go Sinclair. So I expect to see Abrahams grab the Shiv here. I would be pretty surprised if it's anything else. But if they go with another direction, I guess that would be interesting to see. You know, would show us, I think, a little bit more depth in the meta. But I just do think that Shiv bullet build looked amazing in our qualifying match. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Abrahams run it back again.
Yeah.
Mitch, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many subs would it take for you to read out that copy pasta that's going on in chat right now that I pasted in our Discord?
I would just say 10 gifted. I'll do it.
10 gifted. If you out there give 10 total or for one person?
What do you mean?
So 10 gifted subs. Is it like does someone have to gift 10 or is it just 10 gifted subs?
Yeah, just drop 10
total?
gifted. I mean, it could be 10 separate
subs.
ones. Yeah,
you can get Mitch to read that copy pasta about Listic for us. And you know what? I'm gonna get my soundboard ready to record because I'm gonna play that on repeat.
Oh God. Think about what you're doing here, Chad.
Cheaply bought. 10 gifted. So we need Kelvin here going to be picked up by Abrahams pretty much straight away. We saw it being quite potent. Ideally in a shell that, like we mentioned, featured a playmaker or some sort of hard initiator. But Virtus.pro managing to snap up that paradox here, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wraith was the follow-up pick.
Yeah, but are they going to give up Shiv Kelvin? That would be terrifying to me. Like I think it's. I guess they're going to give it up. Wow, so I'm pretty sure Abraham is going to grab Shiv Kelvin as the opener. I mean, Wraith Paradox also really solid. I mean, Zergi. I feel like that the Magnum item is going to get looked at. Like Wraith having infinite bullets is not okay. Actually,
yeah.
You're just holding M1 the entire game is crazy. So I'd be surprised if that. You know, I think it is really strong. I think they're smart to keep using it as long as they can. But by the same token, I think Shiv Kelvin. I guess they get they need the holiday too. But I with this pick. Thoroughly the Shiv, maybe unless if it's not, I'm totally confused given the performance in game 1. But
VP have to have a plan for the Shiv if it. I mean, they first banned it last time, right? So they've definitely got to be aware of it. No, Abraham's going to want to try and snap it up. Paradox rate looks great, but again, you know, we think about the early lanes and how they might look to play out. Holiday obviously not as strong an early laner, so at least they're not going to be oppressive on 3 lanes of the map. Surely Sinclair picked up.
So
Icy. The ban first ban was backwards. Icy. So the Shiv was banned, and in fact Sinclair is the next pick. That makes more sense.
It's the 5 gifted Bosp. Appreciate you.
So 5 more. 5 more. Okay.
Let us go.
I'm just waiting to hear it because I'm hoping you put like the full effort into it too.
Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. Zexo with another 5. I feel like that's team play to get the job done. Lock in.
Oh, you're doing it now? Okay. Oh my God. Can we get him full screen? Can we get him just a solo shot for this?
I have to read though. It's hard to get into. Fred Rollies, thanks for the 5 gifted. Where we curious about Listic's play style? Is he intentionally just hinting to give me KOS an advantage? Is there even an advantage to that? A happy, slightly teared up face. I've watched him who play a lot in Wistic where he dies a ton in Wayne. It almost feels intentional. Does anybody know if it's some kind of twat?
Wow.
Thanks for helping us reach the sub goal, guys. Appreciate it. You did more than you had to, actually. And look, we have plenty of time here. We can jump straight back in. The prescribed ban of the Warden here. Probably no shock. Thanks, Saint Moai, for the 5 gifted. This is
dude. The community's going ham.
Quite a hype trainer we're getting here. Yeah. So easy. I will dance for money.
I've seen that in Boogaloo.
Shut up. So I was spending money, not getting it. That's very different. I was just drunk.
Warden Ivy being banned away. So that opens up one more hero that can support relatively well besides like your Vindicta. We talked about Dynamo in the last draft and maybe there's potential to see him now being picked up here.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, honestly, the Arcane Surge, I'm interested in the Arcane Surge Dynamo, like being able to like kinetic dash kind of into like a longer knockup range. Return to the mega knockup Dynamo. I'm not going to use the other name for it. We all know what it is at this point. It's fine. I mean, our Deadlock Fight Night audience are basically entrenched Now you guys have the iceberg from top to bottom of memes pretty much memorized. So Lash taken here by Virtus.pro. So composition looking pretty reminiscent. Obviously, they're not able to get Holiday on this right around. Thank you very much, Average Jonas, for the 5 gifted. Appreciate you, brother. Hopefully see you soon. And Calico here for Abraham. So again, it's much the same clutch of heroes that are being chased after.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a Yamato here, like having a little bit of ability to counter some of the initiation, whether you can like block the Wraith ult or the Lash ult with the ulti. Seems pretty strong. Potentially some spirit nuking power could be built here.
We should. What else can we get you? I'm sorry, Jake. What else can we get you to do? Because those subs are flowing in, man. I think that's like been 30 since you proclaimed.
People loved it. People. These are subs in support, in joyous celebration.
So there is like a fanfic of a copy pasta.
Yeah, that one I don't think we can.
I don't know if I can read that one. That's just too much. Sorry, guys. What is it? Infernus. Okay, so we did wonder about, like, we've actually seen Infernus over the last couple of weeks, but it felt like pretty suboptimal. Teams were sort of clutching for someone that could be big in the late game. It's your boy Dynamo. Let's go. I've been waiting for this.
Get your group hug ready, man.
I think Dynamo is also interesting. Is an interaction we rarely see because we don't see Dynamo pick that much. Has some strong interactions against Kelvin. Being able to pull people out of the dome who are stuck inside it, I think is the only way in the entire game to do that is by grabbing them.
Get out with that.
Yeah. Or you can like hit your black hole on the edge of the Kelvin ult, and like you're still can be affecting people inside of it.
I see.
It goes through walls. So
that is true.
Could be interesting. And there is a sort of a lot of frontline here, whether it's, but I also think Sinclair with the max ult could be stealing this Dynamo ulti and popping it like crazy on cooldown. And even like I feel like Sinclair might be crazy because you could like insta teleport in with your clone, right? And black hole people super aggressive. So kind of curious to see how that. I feel like it's a little risky for VP to like introduce that into the game.
What?
7?
This 7 in Infernus, it's gonna be scary, man. With like swap, lift, Lash ult, haze catch. There's a lot of stuff that can like catch and punish you. That being said, I'm kind of interested to see 7 being played. I think there's like something to be said for like the Mystic Leap, full max ultimate, and just like playing really fast tempo off the maxed ulti. Actually, I think is like pretty legit right now. And I guess the Lash ulti, I guess you have Wraith ulti too, in fairness, to deal with it. So
real quick as well, we have a big wombo combo. If I remember correctly, it's going to be D-Mov going to be playing Dynamo for Virtus.pro, not Listix. So we won't see his patented build come through. But what I'm worried is that you're giving Obikim 2 pretty easy targets with Focus Lens to go kill off when it comes to these matches, especially when they're going to be looking to split push or looking to actually solo farm out. And we've seen Obikim play a supporting style haze before. I'm a little bit worried for them. Like 7, I mean, at first it's a little bit of an easier time to escape, but if you get silenced, good luck. And then 7, yeah, you get a stun, but can you survive long enough for your stun to even be used is another question. This is going to be tough, I think, for them to get the farm they need to be impactful.
I think the squishiness of those 2 as like the main damage dealing carries is a major problem this game. I really am. I think there's going to be trouble for them. We spent so many different catch heroes on the map, so many different like lockdown heroes. I think if you fall behind on Abraham's, it's going to be really hard to like make comeback fights, sustaining fights, surviving opening engagement. I think if you're far ahead and you're the ones always initiating with Holiday and Sinclair, and maybe the Kelvin can fix some of those problems in saving 7 in Infernus, but I'm a little bit worried about their ability to fight like fully dynamically and aggressively enough with the amount of threat that I see on VP's side. Like I like this draft a lot for VP. I think Haze can set up a lot of like mid-game snowballing ganks for Lash and for Wraith to come back in and clean up. Yeah, I like this draft a lot for VP. Looks super comfortable for them. Curious to see the Dynamo be played in the new patch too.
Big shout out, Bread Rollies and Ungasan. Thank you very much for the subs there. Yeah, I mean, Dumb Duck 1547 with the 5 gifted. Appreciate you. Just
Dude, chat's going crazy right now. It's actually wild. Really, seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
it means a lot to us,
seriously, since they've dropped like 50 subs. Since,
this is next level. They love your read, Mitch. They love your read.
Right. Yeah, I'm really
sponsored by the Uwu copy pasta.
Go.
I mean, keep putting things in chat. Maybe there's something else we get Mitch to read with another like sub threshold here.
Yeah, I mean, they could. Yeah, maybe. I mean, like some of the stuff I'm saying, like the dude, the Chat GPT fan fiction has kind of got me feeling some kind of way. You guys are, yeah, like I said in chat, you're out of pocket right now. Okay. Almost a classic EU pause there to start us off. We're going to be jumping in. I'm wondering. Okay, we get the names flipped off the top of the screen. We'll get them put in position for you. Lazarus, thanks for the gifted as well. Appreciate you guys supporting us. keeping the lights on here at Deadlock Fight Night means everything now. And our 25th edition, that's a lot. I mean, that's over 6 months of Deadlock Fight Night. It's been great to be enjoying these early days of the Deadlock competitive community with you all. I believe you stick with us for the longer term.
Say that now, but then a year from now or 2 years from now, we're looking at like Deadlock number 127.
Possible.
DFN.
Thank you very much.
Oh my God.
Dude,
My God.
15?
That's huge. Big 15 gifted. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate your support. Possible is the Abraham's coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out, man. Thank you very much. Look at us giving back to each other. Lazarus, thank you for the sub. Okay. Let's lock in a little bit more now. Over the mid part of the map here, we have the Holiday Sinclair combination there from Abraham. So potentially a bit of a nuisance. Again, we will get your names at the top switched.
I think we had an observer crash. That's maybe why we had to swap over to the second feed from this one. But one thing you have to keep in mind is that Hoot was so dominating when it came to the mid lane before. Now he's going to be up against the Geist and up against the Dynamo, who, I mean, the Geist is already very low in HP. They once again really putting forward to a very strong start at the beginning of this game. Not to mention, Chad is still putting out a very strong start in this game. Another 5 gifted subs from Arc coming through. Guys, reminder, by the way, for people, it's not like, hey, this money goes in our pockets. This money goes directly back into the show. So a big thank you from all of us to all of you.
That's what we try and do with the Rev guys. So appreciate it. Also for keeping we have a lot of people at the back end as well to keep the show going. Observers, producers, people that are creating content for the show as well. So thank you for supporting all of us with your gifted subs and donations. Thank you. But if you keep doing it, we're not going to have any time to cast the game. So, you know, maybe just relax. It's all good.
That's one way to shut us up, I guess.
Yeah, pay me to leave. That's exactly how this works. Again, so like, you know, digging a little bit deeper, I guess, on some of our laning assignments here. We got the Calico and the 7 on the right side of the map here. And obviously, you got our names. We're ready to go now. And he was Dimov, like Jason mentioned, going to be on the Dynamo. And Oberkim is on that Haze. So curious to see what that sort of quasi-supporty Haze is going to look like if Oberkim sort of goes that way. In the past, it was like, you know, looking for Rescue Beam and a lot of those aura items. Obviously, you are in the thick of things a bit. So, you know, pretty easily to make Cold Front sing for you.
That's the thing, is like, does he actually need to go support items? Because you have Dynamo on the team for DMOB, so you're going to be able to really go a little bit more ham when it comes to damage, just overwhelm them. Shark going to be consistently punished here when it comes to the mid lane. He's going to be sent back to spawn. DMOB, you know, on half HP, he's been forced back as well. It looks like Abraham's are getting the first guard of the game here in this mid lane.
And look at that, just stick around like a bad smell. They just refuse. They've got such a, I guess, a powerful lane set up with that drift across from the Calico that they just refuse to leave. Avas Rogue, thank you very much for the 5 gifted there as well. We see you. Now, though, getting caught out in the dungeon, rather in the jungle, might be Sap here. I don't know how much, parrying is going to help you in this sort of situation, but now we've got a bit of a game of chicken on the rope here. Sap's going to have to move on away, but converging on the location is Hoots trying to get there. Hoot might be able to find a response here. Listic has to know that the alarm had well and truly been raised. Can Hoot actually chase to this kind of degree? Hit no shots. Listic is going to struggle now, trying to pull away from his pursuer, but this might give opportunities for other players to come in. This is about to get really messy. Michaelis comes in. Hoot could not finish Listic off in time. And so Virtus.pro end up coming out on top in that exchange, and it could get worse from here on out. Jamside has found himself on the receiving end of a carbine that will be allowed to walk away.
You know, I love how they made it so Grand Slam can like pull people down to the ground, or the ground strike like we saw there. But I hate when it's done to me, but it's such a thing of beauty to see when it actually happens. I mean, Listic comes out with like the 2 kills. Virtus.pro struggled in the early game last game. And honestly, with these other lanes stepping up right now, with Listic in particular stepping up, it's helping alleviate that pressure of Shark already getting punished in the mid lane, with them already losing their Guardian in the mid lane. And even though Shark's gonna go down yet again, the Soul's still gonna be in favor of Virtus.pro at the moment.
Pass went low in the end there, but Abraham's able to find some level of success. He did more. Doesn't want to be running into Saf right now. Awkward. Tries to go for the parry. Saf is going to be able to draw it out pretty easily. And unfortunately, Dynamo is just not in a position to be able to stave off that level of aggression. Because they the same ballistic. Gloom bombs don't quite connect on him. Luckily for the Lash, we'll have to give up that fight entirely.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't really expect necessarily the Dynamo and the Geist to do that well in the mid lane, especially against that combo early on. But for me, Virtus.pro is about like the late game more so, like with Zergy, with Listic, with Demov, with Shark as well, and then the initiate they have out of Michaelis. I think they're really looking to play towards the late game anyways. I don't know who I'd favor though when it comes to like the full-on late game. I would guess I would still say Virtus.pro overall because of having that Lash and Demoff combo. That wombo combo can really do God's work depending on where you actually get it set up with. And Tass on 20 HP is gonna be caught up by Listic yet again, and Listic having a much better game here than he did in match 1.
Yeah, Quicksilver reload already available here for Listic, and he is getting really active across the map. No goo balls thrown into teammates yet either, but yeah, very much just bouncing across the map. And just have a look at this is lane positions here. Abrahams are really shoved up, so there are a ton of great opportunities now for Listic to get in and gank, to use a bit of an antiquated term, I guess. Death Slam, oh, well kited there by Jamside, just behind that little building, but there's the parry from Hoots. Gonna try and walk away from this one, and that's too much to ask here. Abrahams are trying to just rotate this Sinclair into every lane to try and shove it over.
I mean, Listic is just constantly getting around as much as possible around the map to have impact in all of these lanes. He's at 5.2 thousand souls. I mean, he's kind of leading the charge at the moment. And honestly, it kind of works out really well having a Lash on the team now that I think about it, considering the boxes spawn in quicker, considering they give you more souls on average, considering the 10% extra chance. A little bit of a Lasso going to be coming on to Michaelis to catch him out for a kill on the right-hand side. Listic's been doing a great job considering the lack of like scrims that they've had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a lot of this definitely comes from very strong fundamentals. I am seeing the Abrahams here like not being able to maybe get priority when it comes to picking these playmakers. They're just going for really oppressive bullying lanes just to shove these Guardians down and get that sort of early soul lead to try and turn that into something. Paradoxical swap, excuse me, used there on Jam side, and Michaelis will be hard pressed to find the extra damage needed, but Listic is on the scene, and that is a 7 going down. Thank you, Anonymous, for 10 gifted subs. Appreciate it. We are 201 of 200 subs there. Please stop mentioning me in your fan fiction suggestions. I can't read them. I'm going to get cancer, chat. You have to understand. It's not me. It's them. It's Big Brother will take me out. Okay, come on.
Such a good actor, man. Because I know deep down you love all this fan fiction about you. And
Dude, Chad, you're doing a fine job, and honestly, he acts like he's in pain, but he enjoys every second of it.
Listen, if we get confirmation from our producer that I can read one of these, I will do it. If I get permission, I will do it. I will. Especially, they're not too explicit. You know what I mean? They're suggestive. Wayners, thank you very much for the Prime. Thank you for supporting our stream. We're above 200 subs now, guys. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Saf, forced to double back a little bit here. Time Wall active, of course, with the protection of the Guardians. Able to roll out of the kinetic blast. Thank you, Bonus Bones, for the 5 gifted. Here is the singularity, though. Everybody sucked in, but Saf is still healthy enough, at least to play in this safe zone. And here comes the reinforcements. Hooting together, turn up now. While together might go down, the Guardian is taken on that left side lane. And the pressure really being felt now. Virtus.pro trying to push back for a little bit of something, but they have 0 Guardians, Jason.
Yeah, and the thing is, considering it's only a 2k soul difference, but there's a 3 Guardian advantage for Abrahams finally going to be turned around here, it's really not that big of a lead for Abrahams. If anything, Virtus.pro are actually, in my eyes, the one in the lead once they get these Guardians down. And we can already see some souls, or sorry, some jungle camps being taken out by Virtus.pro, and Listic is just getting even more fed now at 8,000 souls. Death Slam is ready to go too. And Demon, I mean, the downside of a Dynamo is those ultimates are on such long cooldowns. Is you need quite a few items before he can actually come online with being more impactful in these fights.
They are, but Dimov used it just in that last fight, Jason, and it's about to come off cooldown. So comparatively, sure. But he has it ready now. Listic, of course, can obviously set up the obvious wombo of death slamming people into the Dynamo and allowing them to just basically lock people down for extended periods of time. So very powerful, this Virtus.pro comp, and that it has the ability to pick a fight when they want to, and has that sort of area of effect wombo to operate with. But Jamside is up to 9.1k in souls. Arvs, thank you very much for a gifted to Mobov. And that's obviously pretty insane to see like 7 get that farmed that well so this early in the game. But looking at the mini map now, you see Virtus.pro very mindful, already taking a bit of damage on that right side walker, trying to at least get one more of these Guardians down. It's worth pointing out though that you're less screwed over by having that delayed first flex slot opened up, right? Because you can get 8 items in your inventory before that. But they definitely do want to try and get these Guardians out of the way ASAP.
It's not like you're trying to pick up your 5th spirit item because you don't need to worry about that anymore. So it's a very big point to make, Mitch. So I'm glad you made it. I think we're still waiting on confirmation. I know Hex asked chat if we should let you read it. I'm all for it. I think all of us here are all for it. just gotta put
like I
on
said,
some good
all I
mood-
need is I need
mood
Hex's
songs.
approval, and I will do it. Because yeah, I'll do it.
Well, we go into the first earn spawn in 10 minutes in, and it gets really dangerous looking at the fact that Jamside's at 10k, extremely healthy right now in terms of souls. As far as the shelter's going to come through, quantum singular, or no, yeah, the quantum singularity can be used to actually escape, as we've heard Jake mention before from the frozen shelter, but the urn still sitting on the ground. Stole
Wait a minute.
singularity.
Okay, in we pile. This is getting pretty intense now. Who copies that singularity? Sharik gets caught out. You can see jumped in straight away was Saint. This is nice. And Jake alluded to this as well. The risk of picking your hero with such a game-defining ultimate against the Sinclair composition. You get it used against you with maximum effect. And that was beautiful from together. Stunning parry lets him win that fight out. And Jamside is the only casualty? No. Michaelis finally gets involved and deals with the Infernus.
The urn's in the hands of Tass, and he's quickly running towards the side of the turn. And the problem for him is Zergi's going to be there waiting, but Zergi's also below half HP, so I don't really realistically think he can contest this. And we see in the past so many times that they're not really, set on having to go for the contest here. Instead, they might just try to take some objectives, and it might be that left lane Guardian, as you already see D-Mov and Shark going head-to-head up against Saf.
All right, that's an urn turned in. Abrahams now get themselves at a soul lead. Virtus.pro still eyeing off those two peripheral side lane Guardians, and Abrahams are happy to defend, continue to keep them off that extra resource. Dimov gets in there. Flex not now available, but this surely is going to go ugly. They got to back out here. So the entanglement is at least allows Virtus.pro to get some distance, but surely they get run down. Dimov, of course, not the most mobile of heroes. Ends up being picked up, but at least Sharik can slip away.
Same time, push on the right-hand side for Virtus.pro. They're trying to pull and prod Abrahams in different directions here. To be together, going to be coming through on the Infernus. Frozen Shelter going to be used once again. No D-Mob there to save you this time, Virtus.pro, as the chase is going to continue to commence here. And honestly, together, he really wants to take down Listic, and he should be able to get the catch on this.
There is Listic falling, of course. There's reinforcements. Saint turns up, immediately throws the grenade down. Abrahams have got a really nasty mid-game setup here. They're great at brawling, taking these little skirmishes across the map. The souls are going in the right directions as well. Jamside together getting a hefty amount. Tass, of course, still able to be someone who sets up these fights. God, we haven't even really talked about like some of these itemization divisions, but obviously like Backstab here, a lot of those tier 2s, but Titanic magazine as well being picked up by Together. So obviously now we're giving you a heck of a lot of ammunition capacity in general. Nothing I think like super stand out about the itemization there for the holiday, but I'd definitely be scared of this Infernus now in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Like how he has the backstabber too. He's very gun heavy actually for Together here. Obviously a lot of spirit damage going to be coming in from Jamside anyways, and still Together will have a lot with Afterburn once he does max it out. But considering he's going to be chasing a lot of people with the Flame Dash, backstabber is a pretty decent pickup here. We're starting to see teams group up in towards middle, and the thing is there's no Guardians there to be taken. It looks like Virtus.pro were trying to set up for a fight off the back of the Sleep Dagger coming through from Obikim, and they actually have the catch here onto Saf, and the catch is all they really need for them to just say go. As now they can look to put some pressure here on that right lane Guard to take it down, maybe look for some more objectives, or maybe just take some time to go back and farm.
Yeah, again, you notice that Cult of Sacrifice actually getting picked up by a couple of people, namely Listic there, which kind of allows you, it's almost like a, to use the term from another game, it's like a smite effect that you just sort of nuke down an NPC. All right, well, this could be tough for Hoots. Yeah, no way of getting out of that one. Caught out, of course, by the kinetic blast, knocked up, and then dealt with. So another random pick here for Virtus.pro. And now look at them starting to get a bit more brazen about how they fan out across the map.
Well, Mitch, we got to look for a little bit of a slow and play.
Oh, God.
To bring up one of our sub goals here. We do have the approved copy pasta in from our producer here for the approval process.
Okay.
And it looks like you're not gonna have time to read it just yet though, because still have a fight break on the right hand side. The Guard's still low on HP. VP pick up another 2 kills as finally Tass able to respond with the kill into Zergi. But
I think I'm gonna read it anyway. How we do it over the fight? Don't worry about the fight. This is more important right now. Kales didn't speak.
Oh, God.
He didn't need to. Listic was already moving. Close. Closer. There. Their mouths met like lightning. Hot, wild, inevitable. Hands roamed. Breath hitched. Time broke. One kiss. Then another. Then they forgot how to stop.
Let's push green.
Give me an audiobook reading contract. Post haste. Get it to me. All right. Why? If someone asked, why am I saying ASMR style? What do you mean? I mean, that's what we want to read like, hey, yeah, KLS didn't say nothing, did he, Governor? Nothing have to do that, did he? Of course we're going to read it. You know.
I hope
ASMR
everyone clapped
style.
for it like I did. That's all.
Sorry, Mitch. I think you need to solo cast a little bit. I need some time for the blood to get back to my brain.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, just stand on your head, mate. All good. Yeah, we'll carry away with this. Still 15 minutes into this game, right? And of course, Earn now is got to be looked at. Might even be scooped up here by Sharik momentarily. Okay, well, we're doing that. Storm Cloud popped. Overkim says, you know what? That's fine. Have a nice day. I'm going to back away. Wow, that's a Jam side really projecting threat there, just as well because they were low.
I see paradox.
Okay, no.
Are we watching a game? I completely forgot what's happening right now.
That's the big in game. Jam side wanted the bullet resist, Jason. That's why he popped Storm Cloud when, you know, Overkim pulled up. It was like, skirt, I'm not fighting that guy. We still have, now we have at least all the Guardians down. So we start to think about Earn fight, convert that into a Walker. That's in the hands of Saint here. He definitely wants to get a turn in. There's a lot of presence for VP on the right side of the map that you'll notice. They've got 2 of those players out there.
Well, we are in 50 Shades of Deadlock here as the Earn is looking to be turned in, gets swapped back in towards the turn in actually. Frozen Shark's going to come out to actually lock in Shark, but are you locked in with him or is he locked in with you? And the question is, with Listic and the Death Slam coming in from the side, they're looking to actually control the pace, control the area around this Earn turn in, but Abrahams are giving their run for their money.
Okay, Listic still needs to fight for this now if he possibly can. Saint is low. Kelvin definitely struggling here. Everybody converging on this same point now. Saf just trying to fight a retreat, but getting caught out now. That's the first casualty. Here's VP doing what they do best, taking a pretty favorable fight. Somehow Saf was able to dodge away here, but that Saint is now down. That's the sustain for Abrahams out of the fight. But KLS in that window gets the Earn turn in.
I mean, that's just what's so strong about VP. Is that their team fighting is just so damn good. I mean, the Frozen Shelter being used as well to try to look for a confirm onto the Earn, but not having that big ultimate up in the fight thereafter, just it's going to be easy pickings for Virtus.pro. And the whole time, like, Zergy's not really been in these fights, right? He's been farming constantly. He's at 19,000 souls. He's been off in that right-hand lane, just being left to his own. A pretty standard strat out of the playbook out of Virtus.pro. Just let Zergy farm until he becomes that threat. And I do worry for Abrahams once he gets involved. At 19,000 souls, like, he is gonna like just destroy people. I don't know if he has this Mercurial Magnum online just yet though for him, but once that point hits, I would imagine that's gonna be the point of him engaging in these fights with his team.
What a catch. All right, so Return of Shadows has to be used there. I mean, KLS is always going to be looking threatening on that roam. That is pretty terrifying stuff here. Again, that decay being picked up. We've seen as much decay as we had in the past, but of course, you know, that damage over time based on current health is still pretty impactful.
It's actually pretty strong too, considering it scales with your spirit power. So like heroes that have a lot of heroes spirit power stacking can make it like even more impactful, but it's also a lot more expensive than it was previously, if I'm not mistaken. Not a lot more expensive. It's like double the price, up to 3,200.
Do you think that I have empowered a VP with such a rousing fanfic reading? Because honestly,
like if you don't get empowered off of that, then you really have to wonder what are you doing in life.
All right, fair enough. All right, here's the jump pad use. Sleep though catches on a Taz. It's a little bit scary now. He needs to try and get out of this fight. Veil Walker definitely helps to that effect. Allows him to slip away a little easier. Saf is trying to tie Sharik up as much as possible. Zergy has now obtained Boundless Spirit, so really going to be hitting hard with those abilities. And Taz eventually gets caught out. Now you start to think about this Walker, especially with Saf falling finally. Look at the presence here for Virtus.pro on this left side of the map. They'll double back and probably push this wave on in. And very quickly, Abrahams are trying to get this Walker down, but Together is missing. And Saint hopes to try and save them both. They're going to lose this 1 versus 2. That's how terrifying Zergy is right now. Takes them both down, dominates the side lane, even through that Frozen Shelter. And that's a heartbreaking result for Abrahams. They're not going to be able to trade Walkers now.
He killed Gemside through a Frozen Shelter. Like, that's how much damage he has right now. 1v2 in that situation allows Virtus.pro to take the Walker on the left-hand side, get themselves a flex slot, and the right lane Walker's already at below half HP, which would be their next flex slot coming through as well. Like, Virtus.pro are completely and unequivocally in the driver's seat right now, and Dimov has kind of started to come online at the moment where previously he was quite weak. He was really easy to pick off, but the healing he's doing in these fights is kind of insane. Also, not to mention, you can see there Shark, he was able to finally pick up probably one of the most important parts of this kit to have a Dynamo on his team. was the, what's the name? Give me a second. It's the drums, the healing tempo, which is going to make him fire a lot quicker and do a lot more damage in these fights. Make it a lot harder to kill, obviously.
Yeah, so healing tempo, obviously, healing yourself or an ally gives you or them bonus fire rate and bonus move speed. It doesn't work for like innate bullet and spirit lifesteal or innate regen, but if you have like extra like or external sources of those, it still works, which is kind of sick. It also increases your healing effectiveness by like 30%. So it's just a really powerful item that gives extra upside when, you know, like more incentive for actually healing in this game, which sometimes can be hard to pull off and isn't always has diminishing returns in some cases with like heal bane and so many of those items picked up. So it's a good way to counter it. Anyway, Taf always looking for these solo fights, but is Sharik the target he wants to dance with? He realizes perhaps not.
Healing tempo. I mean, you just see that was from like one life drain out of Shark, and he gets him below half HP with a couple of shots as well. Like that's how hard it is to deal with Geist at the moment. And if you back him up with some healing out of D-Mob too, like what are you really going to do? But the fight, it's going to be kicked off on the right-hand side. A big skirmish happening between these two teams that Virtus.pro clearly has a man advantage with.
All right, Tass falling. Michaelis able to, again, set up a pretty easy solo kill. Taf's got a long map to cross here. It does notice the Geist. Now being noticing the Geist, being put on notice that there are people noticing that urn is heading over towards a turning location. No, Saf just wants to throw down, man. I do respect it. And frankly, it's just Sharik on that side of the map. So Virtus.pro do need to turn this into something or come to the rescue. Nah, Saf is definitely dead. Sharik is definitely dead, right? Surely there's no way he's going to get away with this. Taken down, but Virtus.pro are circling. Do they turn this into some walker pressure? Jason, they're going to get the mid-walker for this. Abraham's got baited into that engagement. What?
They're keeping two players there. Like, that's all Shark was trying to do. Wasn't necessarily trying to pick up the 1v2, but buy time for them to pick up not one, but two more walkers off the back of that, looking at now a 30k lead, and they're still picking up kills on top of this. Virtus.pro are running away with this game, and I mean, realistically, they could have turned the urn in, but there's no need for them to do it right now.
Thinking of the urn as well. Virtus.pro get everything they could have asked for. Macro gods of EU. Just dangle Sharik as a tasty morsel in front of Abraham's, and they pounce so quickly. I mean, we're like past 20 minutes into the game. These guys are hitting hard. Those walkers are getting nuked down. Here's a lasso catching on a listic. But not all of Abraham's are here to fight. In fact, very few now need to get in position. Here's that storm cloud coming up, though. The bullet resist makes a big difference. Unstoppable also popped there by Jamside. But is there a chance to turn the urn in now? Satan's definitely going to try. Will he be interrupted? Yes. Can't quite deposit it yet. He's taking damage. That's going to reset that timer. But who's still out of the game? Saf is very, very low. And a frozen shelter. Oh, okay, dude. Cringe, brother. Satan gets the urn turn in. There's a fight to be had after the fact, though. Virtus.pro would have something to say about it. They've got to extract some value from this engagement. And so they're looking for it. Decay there looks like it was used on Hoot, who still has that audience participation available, but he's caught inside the singularity. Nicely done. No escape.
That was his singularity.
Oh, really?
They were down. He stole it away, and he tried to actually pick up some kills off the back of this, but he only baited his team into their death. The healing coming out of D-Mob, the damage out of Zergy and Shark, and with that audience participation singularity, it nets them 3 deaths and gets them absolutely nothing. All they got from that was an urn turn-in.
Oh, VP, okay, probably happy with that. Trading an urn turn-in for some real prio across the map, but
I mean,
they've got good push here on mid and outside lanes and a mid-boss take that should be uncontested, really.
The thing is, like, we don't really, like, I don't want to say confidently that that wasn't a bad trade for Abraham's, because the urn turn-in, with how far they were behind, they're getting like 25% extra souls from it. Obviously, when it comes to losing objectives like this, losing Reju, it's not going to work out for them. But I feel like in that situation, maybe I judged it too harshly committing that frozen shelter. If they lost like 1, maybe 2 players max, I think that actually still would have favored them in that trade if they were able to defend against the Reju take.
Let's take out Holiday.
Now what? I guess is the question. There's some, friendly camps for Virtus.pro here to clear that right side of the map, especially. Definitely some, pings towards the Abraham's left side jungle, though, where we already see Oberkim hunting. We've spent less time, I think, this game sort of focusing on some of these builds, just because the macro's been pretty, involved. But it's like just superior duration, superior cooldown here for Michaelis. So fairly standard, like smoothing items. As a nice little catch onto Sap, who is going to be very durable here. And return to Shadows is going to get them out of harm's reach for now.
That's, Mitch, that's the reason we have been focusing on the items. Definitely wasn't the fan fiction that you're reading or anything like that. They got me all kinds of turns.
I mean, I think chat's already moved past though. I've got to give them credit. When there's the time to lock in, they absolutely lock in. I'd love to see that. Oh, big barrel. Oh, Shariq got flat in there. So Abraham's once again, we've offered up the Lady Geist. Now, what have Virtus.pro extracted in response? Oh, I see. Base Guardian pressure. They got earned, but they do need to turn it in enemy territory.
And we also wondered about, like, Obi-Kim, is he going to go support kind of style? I don't really see any support items on his build. He's just full damage coming through. I mean, the silence as well is going to be huge because it can prevent, like, the stun from coming. You can see right there, used it directly and forced out the unstoppable out of Jam's side so he can get away from this. But the Urn turn in, you can't contest this if you're Abrahams. I mean, this would be a perfect area to get a singularity off if you're either team. But considering how far behind Abrahams are right now, I don't think you're going to feel confident to go for this fight. But singularity has been used. That one was out of debuff, which means who has the veil to be used. But the Urn's going to be turned in, and you don't want to go for a fight off the back of this if you're Abrahams.
I mean, they've got Rejuve, right? It just feels terrible for Abrahams. Just going 1-for-1 here is pretty potentially catastrophic for them. Virtus.pro said that's fine. I mean, the threat of this Rejuve is what we want to generate. There's 1 more minute of that buff up. But now Virtus.pro are going to make it harder for Abrahams to come back into the game by attacking that mechanic at the root, going through, taking these camps away, making sure Abrahams can't sort of amble out of their defensive zone and, again, build those souls up to stay competitive in these fights.
So this is what I'm curious about when it comes to how this meta is going to work, because they have Rejuvenator. So, okay, cool. You have control of the jungle. You can take away a lot of these camps. But all the lanes are still going to be shoving into Abrahams' base, which they're going to continue to be able to farm up. So they're still, with them being behind, getting extra souls every time they kill some of these creeps. So I don't really know, like, the mathematical, like, formula, but, like, the way it works out budget-wise for these two teams of who actually comes out ahead of taking away the jungle, but letting the lanes constantly push. I wonder if there's some sort of threshold where you kind of have to go for the fight and go for the push and go for the win if you're the team in the lead to not allow a team to start to catch up.
Right, this fire rate is disgusting. Also, Fury Trance picked up by this rate, right? So we talked about it beforehand. Basically, it turns off your abilities. Or rather, it silences you and you can't use stamina or regen, but you just get you get an extra increase of fire rate of 40% on top of bullet life steal. So you just turn the game into a shooter at that point. Just forget about your abilities. It's just good on Deadlock at that point. So yeah, expect Zergy to vomit bullets out in that next engagement. VP, keep a pretty healthy lead here, Jason. You notice that Abrahams has started to make their way back out into the rest of the map here, but with these of course, buffs are still 2 and a bit minutes away. Mid-boss 3 minutes, so it's really about just the lane ebb and flow and those neutral camps.
I mean, you're seeing, like, Abrahams, that they're very scared to push out of the base, which you honestly should be, because you don't know where Virtus.pro are going to be waiting and lurking. You just have Obi-Kim to worry about, who's, I mean, he's basically got a perma stealth, and he also has the potential to kill one of you pretty damn quickly. He's got Vampired first on top of this. So he's actually switched up the build a little bit, not going for that focus lens, going for more of the continuous damage in these fights, because the extra lifesteal you get and the attack speed you get is kind of ridiculous. So you can definitely pull off a 1v1. So Abrahams, you're kind of just stuck waiting on your side of the map until Virtus.pro take a fight, and then you have to hope to win it. Unless you're going to push out as 5 together looking for a catch yourself.
And eventually there's probably going to be a fight, honestly, over, like, potentially even a neutral camp. Like, it wouldn't even take that much here to get Virtus.pro a reason to want to go forward. Team Up is fed. They've also just picked up that healing tempo now. So that rejuvenating Aurora becomes unbelievably effective as just like an AoE fire rate, move speed increase, and heal. Makes you, like, extremely potent. Well, you want to get in the middle of the fight there. And crucially, yeah, the healing effectiveness of Dynamo is going to be increased by a set amount. So good to see him back, potentially in the meta game here, having some really great benefits to sort of be in the thick of things and set up some of those fights with these singularities. But here's mid. Gonna have a bit of a convergence here, surely.
Wow, that damage from Decay, though. Sorry to interrupt you there. You can just see it taking away on Saf. But also, the curse has been picked up for Virtus.pro for Mikhail S. And I wonder if that's kind of what they're waiting for, because now when you have Hoot try to go in for a singularity, you can just shut it down, and it's not going to do anything in this fight.
So Infuse are taken by Jamside here, basically going to make themselves unkillable during Stormcloud to anything, because they will have 80% Spirit Lifesteal, I want to say. Plated Armor just got picked up here as well. So like, kind of the opposite of Armor Piercing. There's like a chance that you just prevent the damage entirely. It's a 30% chance to deflect the shot, 60% chance also to deny the on hit of a certain shot that comes in, which is honestly pretty relevant, especially against Infernus.
obviously the health. Like, look at this. I mean, you're Michaelis, you have 4,000 health. Like, when do we ever see Paradoxes get to 4K HP? And that's obviously like a big change of the item system. Oh, this actually could be big. Zergy does get off the zipline in time, though, so he doesn't get stunned up. They're trying to go for the catch on to him, and they do get it. They get the last one, but can they kill him?
Okay, Earn going to be taken by Overkill now. Try and take Abraham's attention away from this fight, maybe. Frozen Shelter pop. Can anybody kill this guy? This guy is just... Okay, well, they could not kill him, and that's the problem, because the Nextland comes in, and Virtus.pro are ready to rumble. Singularity comes out in response, and you will see Abrahams get torn limb from limb here. Again, unstoppable infuser pop inside that storm cloud. Pretty good jam side. I like it, but it looks more like it's a Christmas bauble, a bit of ornamentation over the fight. It's not an amount of damage that really is significant. And guess what? Mid boss is up in 9 seconds. The timing comes up perfectly here. Virtus.pro have an Earn turn in, a mid boss take. They're laughing all the way to the bank.
They have waves shoved in too, so they can easily get these base guardians to get themselves another flex set unlocked for the final one of the game. But you can see they're all headed back. They want to secure this mid boss as quick as possible. They already got the Earn turn in, and this lead is just continuing to grow. Though, to be fair, if this was on the old patch, I feel like we would be at like 50, 60, 70k lead with how this game's played out.
Zergy's not reloading at all. It's just so crazy to see that now. You hold M1 and you never have to stop. So rejuve here won't be contested. And that flex slot would be available. Virtus.pro should be sitting on a pretty hefty amount of souls individually. Oh, yes, that is a lot of souls. Listic probably wants to part with those here. And head to the secret shop. What is the buy going to be here? Oh, okay. It's like that. Capacitor being picked up here. So again, kind of crazy because it has an active and passive component. Capacitor obviously removes all non-ultimate buffs and applies a strong slow outside of having the passive effect of the Tesla bullet. So gives you a nice build direction option for that weapon, for that item rather. Very powerful.
I think he's going to get, he can get rid of Power Surge from Jam side, which would be huge because that's where a lot of the damage from 7 is going to be coming from outside of the ultimate.
Flame Dash. Does that work?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that could be quite nice. A lot of pretty handy options to go for here. Okay.
He throws a Shelter the Patron to keep stage 1 Patron alive.
Oh, but is he going to move out? Yeah, it kind of moves out of the way eventually, but that's pretty nice. Still going to get taken down. Oh, it's going to be tough for Abrahams here. They're down by like 50k and counting. Boots blown to smithereens. Overkill here. So much for being supportive now. Can just build for raw damage at this part of the game. Saf drops jam side, barely able to escape after a card came down, and this fire rate is absolutely disgusting. Fury Trance was popped there. Dim off? What? All right. Okay, folks. As per usual, Virtus.pro stay at the top of the heap here by adapting to this new landscape of Deadlock quicker than anybody else, delivering an incredible performance, and importantly, Zergy returning to glory, looking massive, brolic, built, vascular on this Wraith.
It's so odd to see though, because that game, it never really felt like in that second match, Abrahams had a chance. But the soul differential, I feel like, didn't really reflect that because of the comeback mechanics in the game. I don't think you can really disagree with me, as we were going to bring Jake in soon, that Virtus.pro, I feel like we're in the driver's seat 95% of the time in that game.
I mean, certainly, yeah, certainly feels like it. A very scrappy sort of early to mid game here. A similar situation, I think, to what we saw in game 1, where picking up the Sinclair, he just seems to be so oppressive, so brutal in that lane that he's able to sort of shove it over and go from there. It's really hard to see how like you're supposed to fight that. The fact that they were rotating the Sinclair out of lanes after they were able to take the Guardian, should speak to just how powerful he is. But there's a souls picked up. There's an early lead that's derived from that, but Virtus.pro were farming really well at the same time. So they never really felt significantly behind, but they were losing a lot of those early engagements, those early skirmishes. We're going to, I think, bring Jake back in here, of course, and have a chance to break the game down a little bit more. Jake, I mean, again, another great Virtus.pro completion here. I thought we were really impressed by what we saw from Michaelis. With Zergy looked great, and also the Dynamo makes its return under the stewardship of Dimov.
I was really impressed with Michaelis, coming back on the Paradox, which I think is really the hero he cut his teeth on despite stepping away from it for a while, playing Vindicta, playing some of these maybe more carry-focused characters. The Paradox still super crucial to a lot of the strategy. And I think Zergy is really paving the way on Wraith right now. Like, this build looks insanely sick. Like, new meta for me. Like, having seen this a couple times, I'm like, man, I wonder if you need to be banning this out. I mean, Abrams has been banned every game, so maybe there's something even more absurd on Abrams that we haven't brought into the meta yet. But this Wraith, like the permanent uptime you're on your primary weapon, scaling into the reloads, and then he gets Boundless Spirit, which now, if you didn't know, like gives you move speed and heal when you cast abilities. So being able to not only cycle the clip forever, but getting raw move speed stat, I think is one of the best stats in the game, pound for pound. Being able to like step in and out and stay in focus. So such incredible like gunplay, I would say, from Zergy, and playing to his strengths as like a tracking player from an FPS perspective, I think looked amazing this game.
I mean, with burst fire on top of that too, like he just is going to chase you down. Honestly, I think that's something that's going to be looked at. There's no way they keep that in the game.
Yeah, the Magnum, there's got to be like a cooldown on it or something. I mean, it's too heinous on somebody like Wraith. And I think the introduction of the Boundless into that build looked really sick, because your spirit damage is actually pretty significant for a couple ways on Wraith, like just your raw attack speed, on the 3rd skill, and then of course your cards dealing pretty significant spirit damage. So I mean, Zergy's like spending a lot of this early mid game farming, but this is like kind of exactly the type of character and build that I feel like we know Zergy for as a player who gets ahead of the game, has like this wild farm situation. The team is fighting with 5 players on the map and more or less letting Zergy just farm because they know they just need him to hit this critical mass. And then when he enters into the team fights, he's going to be bringing such a huge net worth lead and such a potent build that he's been scaling towards in all that farming phase that, okay, he can like really start taking over the game. And so hard to deal with, especially you've got the spell blocks. You can deal with some of these like catch spells that would normally punish you for being so focused on the gun damage. And Wraith already hard to catch with the power of that blink. So for me, really impressive stuff from Zergy. I think a lot of teams are going to be looking back at Wraith. I mean, Wraith was untouched for the last couple months, really completely fallen out. But this new build, I think, has brought her back into, for me, looking like the best hero in the game.
Looks sick. Unreal. Let's talk MVP. We already have been. Zergy, of course, is going to be your player of the match, presented by Intel. Pretty insane. I mean, this guy is shoving down objectives like you would not believe. I think he's at like 18k objective damage. Next closest on his team is like 6k, which is crazy. Actually got out damaged by Sharik here, which is, not uncommon for like the Geists and the, the Mirages of the world. We haven't seen today, just quietly to do. But yeah, I mean, again, sort of Makiro Magnum looks really, really good. I think Fury Trance is like a super interesting item. Just the premise of it is fascinating. Some of these like asymmetrical effects, are really interesting to see. But I mean, yeah, compared with the fact that you can't cleanse off the telekinesis, and obviously that works in area of effect, once you have max investiture in that ability is crazy to me. Really impressed to see this stuff. I think Abrahams were hoping to emulate this to some degree with that Infernus pickup in game number 2, right? Also, they brought the 7 in, so Jamside was hoping to be a real threat later on in the game, but they just could not get close. Zergy, we said late game, but guys, by like 15 minutes, like this guy's a menace, already.
This build is just the Terminator. He just walks at you and is holding M1 the whole game. Like, it's actually unreal.
Yeah, unless he's like disarmed like this, but like there is zero need to ever reload at some point, especially once you have enough cards to proc that Magna. But here is the scoreboard breakdown. Jason Zergy exiting with 9 kills in total. Obviously farmed up to the absolute tits, but Michaelis with 18 assists, of course, over the course of the game was definitely someone I had my eye on, really. It's the classic play style of Paradox, but I don't see him miss any carbines, man, and he's always got the swap follow-up.
Yeah, I think if we were looking at MVPs, I caught Jake talking about it was either between Zergy or Michaelis, and you could have given it to either one of them, to be honest. The consistency out of Michaelis when he gets on Paradox is just unrivaled when it comes into these matches. That he's just always guaranteed to hit one of these good Connect carbines into Paradoxical swap. Like it's going to happen. It's not whether not you can prevent it. It's when it's going to happen for the opposing team and how you deal with it from there. And VP are so good at playing around his swaps. Also so good at playing around 5-man teams instead of the 6, leaving Zergy to farm off to his own. That's really hard for anyone to match up with.
I will say, like, definitely something to be happy about for Abrahams, though, is that, like, I was worried really about the 7 and the Infernus. I thought, okay, maybe they can just get snowballed on and fed. And I think they actually held their own pretty well and kept the game into contention for a long time. I just think the late game build threat was so well thought out by VP. I feel like they really have a handle on, like, what's their timing to end the game, what's their power peak to maybe not end the game necessarily, but at least like win a decisive team fight, take the mid boss, and team like VP, right? It's the beginning of the end once they're able to get those massive objective swings. But on the other hand, I think Abrahams looked solid on the characters they chose. I think maybe like meta is a little, like, VP has a better handle on the meta, and I give them credit for that. They deserve to win this week. But also I thought individually they played well. Some teams, some players in a combination we haven't seen so much of before, and to make this competitive is already, for me, not bad from Abrahams.
Like what we see from them so far, again, I feel like they're going to continue to be snappy at the heels of Virtus.pro over the coming weeks, but that's just fine. It's nice to see a proper two-team region here in Europe. That's it for the EU portion of our show, folks. Virtus.pro, again, have locked it up for the umpteenth time. And of course, after the break, we're going to head over to NA. But first, we've got a bit of a content piece Jason has been working on very hard. Of course, we got your responses last week to some Family Feud style questions. Well, the video is up. We've got the first part of our Family Feud video right here in the break, and part 2 is already up on the Locked In YouTube. So go and check that out. For now, enjoy. We'll see you back after the break for the North American portion of the Deadlock Fight Night number 25, presented by Intel. See you shortly.